What did I miss?
He said, I ran, but not fast enough.
Wow. You finished the football. That's usually my job, sir.
Boy, I feel the gasoline. I feel the gasoline draws just slowly sliding up. Slowly sliding up.
But yeah, there's a lot going on. Hey man, look, there's a lot going on in this world right about now. You gotta laugh at I'm gonna laugh at everything. One minute something going on, the next minute ain't nothing going on. Then every third minute, about 5 things going on. Like our parents used to say, that then one thing is another. But I digress.
If it ain't one thing, it's another.
Like, welcome to the Undisputed GOAT Podcast, man. Y'all know who I am. I'm the world heavyweight champ with the panel right now with the terrific 3, Flash, and BRF Sports. How y'all doing today, man? How y'all feeling?
I'm alive. I'm breathing. It's been a weird week in general. But yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Good. You can't complain.
BRF.
Yeah. I mean, this has definitely been an interesting week to say the least. Whether it's world news or whether it's things going on in sports, it's definitely been an interesting week. But I am ready to get into it and do what I feel we do best, which is discuss the world of sports in a matter that only we can.
Yes, indeed, man. Let's just get right into it, man. We was gonna go in one direction as the show popped up, but we're gonna go on another one. We gotta cover the NBA Finals first right now, man, because I'll be remiss if we didn't talk about that. Now, people were saying that, nobody's gonna watch the finals, which was true at the beginning. It was one of the lowest rated finals at the beginning, but that Game 7 was one of the highest rated finals since 2019. It was one of the highest rated. So with that being said, man, the Oklahoma City Thunder are champions. What does that mean for the franchise at this point?
Oh, I can kick it off. Basically every decision that's been made up to this point is now officially validated. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. Letting Kevin Durant go, letting James Harden go, letting Russell Westbrook go, letting the big 3 go, and then like going through the futility, which was like the early 2020s, like not being able to win a lot of games, but then the turning point was getting Shea. The turning point was getting SGA because you had something you could build upon, and then that 2022 draft. I don't think now we can really speak enough about how big the 2022 draft was for OKC to get Chet Holmgren with the number 2 pick, but then to turn right back around at 12 and get Jalen Williams. I mean, that's Sam Presti just being the master at work and just understanding, how to scout and how to draft and how to bring in the right talent. I mean, this dude the Oklahoma City Thunder had 5 second-round picks. And I think they talked about it last night. 5 second-round picks in their draft rotation, in their lineup rotation, in their top 12. So that just really speaks to Sam Presti and the scouting department of the Oklahoma City Thunder, just knowing who to go out to get to help fit into their scheme to be able to operate at a high level. And this is quite possibly one of the greatest defensive teams we've ever seen too. This is definitely one of the greatest defensive teams we've ever seen. I mean, the championship validates it. Just whether it's SGA or whether it's Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, acquiring him was just humongous. Just having another guy who's a tremendous perimeter player, but then you get into the finals. He set an NBA Finals record as a bench player: points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Set a record in all 4 categories. So I mean, that just that just speaks to levels as far as what the value that Alex Caruso brought to this squad. And I just had a feeling I wanted this series to go 7 because these two teams making it absolutely deserved 7 games. And I'm so happy that we got 7 games. And let me tell you something. I was almost like, when Tyrese Halliburton, shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder, SGA going to checking on them, the fans showing concern for Tyrese Halliburton. You could tell that injury for a brief moment sucked the life out that building because everybody, even those fans know you don't want to see another player go down, far less their best player go down with an injury like that, with it being a torn Achilles, which the NBA needs to act upon pronto because this is ridiculous. This is getting a little out of hand. That's now Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Tyrese Halliburton. You've lost in these playoffs alone to torn Achilles. So they're really going to have to kind of look at things as far as the equipment, the gear, really the shoes, as far as what they can do to try to find a way to improve and cut down on these Achilles injuries because it's crazy. But back to the subject at hand. Very, very happy for the Oklahoma City fans who have been thirsting and wanting a championship for so long, getting so close with the first big three, with the KD, Westbrook, Harden big three, getting so close to getting, they had a 3-1 lead on the 73-win Warriors and blew the series. Getting to the NBA Finals and getting 4-1 by the Miami Heat. Like they got close on so many stages. And then to finally put it all together and win a championship for those fans, it's just you can't say enough about we should. Those fans deserve a championship. I think this is their first since '79. If you want to tie the Seattle SuperSonics into the franchise, which they do, they tie the Sonics in the franchise. It's the first chip since '79. So this really validates Sam Presti. This validates him. He's already Stone Cold Lock, best GM in the NBA. This puts him in another echelon as being one of the greatest ever. I think it does. It puts him in another echelon because to be able to eye talent, be able to find it, and then it just slowly, gradually build, and then it turns into this juggernaut, which finally brings you a championship. That just speaks to the level of how good Sam Presti is as a GM. It's almost, basically when you look at Sam Presti, you look at how it's kind of like comparing him to Howie Roseman with the Philadelphia Eagles, just building that team back from the ground up to where they are now, being the juggernaut, being the powerhouse that they are as defending Super Bowl champions. Sam Presti just really kind of, he put his, to borrow a phrase from downhill. I know Champ likes to do that. I'm gonna do it myself right here. Sam Presti, he put his foot in it. He put his foot in it when it comes to really building his team together. And just shout out to him, man. Like I was rooting for him to get a title. I was rooting for him because you just saw all the moves he was making, and a lot of the moves he made just made so much sense. And then for it all to come together and finally culminate, man, just shout out. Shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been the best team, really. Wire to wire. You can officially say now, wire to wire. They were the best team in the NBA all year, and they validated it with a championship. And you can't speak enough about it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having one of the greatest single seasons of all time. He's the first player in league. He's the first player in league history to win the MVP, the Finals MVP, the Conference Finals MVP, and the scoring title all in the same year. Bro, you can't speak enough. You can't speak enough about how good he's been. This is easily one of the greatest individual seasons of all time. Just watching his growth has been something to behold as well. So you really can't say enough about this team. And this team definitely, if they keep this roster constructed and they keep it together and they just keep making moves that make sense, this easily has potential dynasty written over them as long as they continue to operate. Because you're basically going to bring this team back. I mean, yeah, we got the offseason. We got to see what moves they're going to make. But why should we not trust Sam Presti at this point in time? He's given us no reason to doubt us, and we shouldn't do it now. So I'm excited to see where they go from here, as now being the top dog is going from being the hunter to being the hunted. I'm really kind of excited to see where they go from here and how they continually try to improve this roster or try to make this roster continue to keep it as well-rounded as possible. But shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. They definitely deserve this championship. They were wire to wire, the best team all year. And I'm happy to see them get this done.
Before you go, Flash, real quick, if you don't mind, sir.
Go ahead.
Me and PSP had like on a surprise pod that we had, like on we called it up on a Tuesday. And last Tuesday, me and him was clamoring, and we said, I don't want Halliburton to play. And if I'm the owner and the general manager, I'm sitting him down. And I don't care what anybody says either. I know this is the NBA Finals, but, hey, I'd rather, miss out on the potential of a championship than to miss my star player for the rest of this year, possibly even next year. Remember how long it took Kevin Durant to come back, especially considering you had two powerhouses in the East that were already hurt. You had Jason Tatum that was hurt, and you had Damian Lillard that was hurt. So they was like, okay, even if you lose this year, you could possibly run it back next year, considering how wide open the East is. So, I mean, if we could go back and hindsight is 2020, do you agree that they should have set him down, or did Tyrese Halliburton make the right decision and the team made the right decision?
You play Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
You do.
This is the NBA Finals. You don't sit down. You don't. This is Game 7. All right. I'm going to say something that I do agree with pretty much with everything that BRF said. I think that OKC is set up for a while, but I think that I think on a basketball level, when it comes to Sam Presti and him being a GM and how well he's done and everything else, I think that this does validate that in a lot of ways. But I do think that I think they're going to be a fart in the wind. Honestly, they were lucky Halliburton got hurt. They were on the way to losing that game. Now, that's hypothetical, total hypothetical. I know, I understand that. But I think in the sports talk sphere, I think in the analyst sphere, I think there will always be an asterisk by this title. There will always be but what if? With all these injuries that happen in this playoffs, I don't know. I just it doesn't seem. And honestly, I think SGA is a great player. I think he's a great player. But I don't. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but I don't know. Something seems very bland about this title. Something seems. I mean, even their celebration was boring.
Well, they're very, very young, and this is not the generation. They're young. They're super young. This is not the veteran team. I don't think. Look, two things I think, and I don't mean to interrupt, Flash. I apologize. You're good. I'll be remiss if I didn't say this. This was a very, very young team. This team, I think the average age on there is like 25, 24 years old. I mean, you still eat pizza. With 24 years old, I was still driving back to my mama's house, still eating pizza rolls when I was on leave in the Army. But the thing is this.
Hey, I'm eating pizza rolls now. Don't put down pizza rolls.
No, but I'm just saying that's how the kid mentality that I had back then. Yeah, but they didn't even know the thing was. It was so awkward. They didn't even know how to open the champagne bottles.
No, they should be.
They didn't even know how to open.
4-year-olds are these? You should be snorting champagne off of some stripper's butt or something. I don't know. Like, you're 24 years old. You just won the NBA Finals.
But you're going to get us kicked off the F. But anyway.
Bro, you don't get to talk after that joke you made before.
That was before we went on the air.
But seriously, okay, there's something like it. This seems like an incomplete title. Like I don't know what it is. It just seems.
Number one, they're very, very young. They're young. They're super young. This is not.
Yeah.
We're basketball savants. We're used to seeing the team survive and overcome over a long period of time. You know, over the long haul. We're just used to seeing that. We're used to seeing everything over the long haul. I mean, we're used to seeing teams, you know, go from the Eastern Conference Finals, where in the OKC's case, the West then lose, then the Western Conference Finals, then lose, then finally get over the hump, then maybe lose a finals, then go ahead and they finally win. But this is a very, very young team. It reminds me of what would have happened if the Orlando Magic would have won back in 1995, right before the year before Jordan came back. They remind me of how I think they would have been a lot more, you know, energetic. Because when you look at that, I want y'all to go back and look at that table. There was like a series of beer bottles still up on the table. There was still champagne still on the table. There was still a whole lot of things still on the table, which is, you know, you really look at it like this is a championship. Them champagne bottles should be empty. But the thing is, these guys are so young. And to be honest with you, when you're that young, it doesn't really sink. I don't think it's really sunk in for them yet, to be honest with you. And I believe that's why they have. Yeah, it has to be. And not to mention, this is a small market team as well. So they're young. They're a small market team. And this is not one of the veteran teams. Now, granted, they have some veteran leadership on that team. Alex Caruso, just to name a few. But they don't have that one veteran that survived and overcame. There's not that story on that team like we're used to. It's not that survive and advance, that adversity was overcome. This team literally came out of this team was literally going. And even when, I'm just going to be real with you, even when they had a few years where they were like not as, I won't say irrelevant, but they were still making the playoffs. There hasn't been a time where they haven't been making the playoffs. So they were still making the playoffs. So it's not that team like, let's say, if the Philadelphia 76ers had won. It's not that real down, the ups and downs story. This team never stopped being relevant even when it was down. SGA, everybody knew he was talented. SGA won the MVP. And like I said, it's not that survive and advance story. Had they beat, I would say, the Boston Celtics, that would have been a whole nother story. We would have been a whole.
And maybe that's it. Maybe
had they beat the Boston Celtics or, you know, somebody like that, I think people would be more like, yeah. Look, you can groan and moan all you want, BRF, but like, let's look at this.
I don't like it at all, but go ahead.
Okay, look, I get it. You can only play what's in front of you. I understand that. I get that. I get it. I understand it. Okay. I get that I'm talking in hypotheticals, but deny this. If OKC beats Boston, does this title mean more? I shouldn't say mean more.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
hold on.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Is there heavier weight to it?
Yeah. I mean, of course there is. It's Boston. They're the defending world champions. But my thing was this: you could do that every year. You're not gonna get. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get the just quintessential finals matchup that we want every year. It ain't gonna happen.
I know.
It ain't gonna happen. And here's the thing though: even if you take out Jason Tatum's injury, is it Oklahoma City's fault that Boston struggled with New York even before he got hurt?
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Because even before Jason Tatum got hurt, New York was beating the brakes off him. Even before he got hurt.
You're not wrong.
So it's like, honestly, there's really nothing else with me. I mean, it is what I mean. You gotta play who's in front of you. At the end of the day, I mean, we you know what I'm saying. We can nitpick every year. We can nitpick every playoff year. We can do it because we're not gonna get the quintessential finals matchup every year. But I get completely where you're coming from because if this was the Boston Celtics, even the New York Knicks for that matter, if it was one of those two franchises instead of the Indiana Pacers, yeah, they would definitely. I think there would definitely be some more weight to it.
Let's say it's the Knicks. I don't think it has the weight to it.
It doesn't have the weight to it that it not Boston because Boston are the defending champions, not Boston, not the the winningest NBA franchise. No, it doesn't. But even when you look at the New York Knicks, just from a market standpoint, from a history standpoint, what they still mean to the league, regardless of how long it's been since they won a championship, beat the Knicks would hold more weight than the Indiana Pacers when you look at it from a historic standpoint. Because I mean,
Quick question, and I have to. Y'all watch NASCAR, right? Like early 2000s NASCAR.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Y'all remember? Because so you know what I'm about to say. Remember what they used to call the Jeff Gordon effect?
Yes.
And they, it was just so he would win so much, it was just almost effortless for him, and people down south used to hate his behind for it. But then with Jeff Gordon,
he was from Cali. He's not a down south boy.
Yeah, he wasn't the down south guy. But on the other hand, and plus he was very, very young. He was very, very young. But when Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator, God rest his soul, when he won the Daytona 500, it was more of that survive and advance type of story. I like to equate that team to this Oklahoma City team to like Jeff Gordon, because when he won, it was exciting, but for the hardcore fan, it wasn't exciting. This team is like I said, with this young team, it wasn't that survive and advance type of story. Like I said, you could tell how young this team was because the champagne is still sitting there on ice as we speak. It was still a whole lot of beer bottles on there. There was still the champagne. They didn't even know how to open the champagne bottles. Alex Caruso had to teach them. That was probably the funniest part of that. Alex Caruso had to teach the young kids how to open the champagne bottle. So I don't think it doesn't have that story to it. It doesn't have that story. It doesn't have that, okay, this young team overcame. You got there last year, but you were not quite ready yet. But in reality, it should, because they still had to go through, because the thing is, last year, they had to go through Jokic and teams like that. They had to go through the Dallas Mavericks. They had to go through teams like that stopped them from going through the finals last year. It's not their fault that, the Nuggets decided to fire their coach. And then, for better or for worse, the Dallas Mavericks decided to trade Luka to my Los Angeles Lakers. It's not their fault. But they've been stopped before for making the finals, but it doesn't have that long and drawn out story of the young team finally overcoming. We haven't seen a team this young win something in the history of the league. This is the youngest team in the league.
I got all right. This will kind of go into the next subject. Does SGA suffer from Tim Duncanism?
I don't know about that. I think Shay's got the charisma's not much more than Tim Duncan.
Like he's too boring, and that's the problem. His team is really boring. Like really boring.
They're not that young team that we're used to seeing.
I personally don't think they're boring, but I see why people would think they're boring. But I mean, I don't think they're boring. I love their style of play, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
I'm not.
We're not their basketball. I'm talking about their personality.
Yeah,
like if Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, people are going to judge them for their personality, but hey, we winning now. I don't care about how you feel about our personality. As long as we win a game.
It's kind of like when the prep school kids win the championship. They all, let's go have a pizza party. You know what I'm saying? But that's how they look out there.
I think that may be the problem, because I look, there's, you look at the past handful of, even if you look at Jokic, okay, he should suffer from Tim Duncanism, but he's so extremely boring that it's actually entertaining. It is. He's a weirdo but this OKC team, they're just boring. They're boring. They're
kind of like I said, they remind you of the prep school kids when they win the championship. Whereas you're used to young guys being brash. We're used to them being cocky.
Yeah.
We're used to them being just out there, and we criticize the crap out of them for it. But we expect that from a very, very young team. When you saw the Oklahoma City 1.0, Westbrook was brash. Harden was brash. Kevin Durant was a little bit more quiet. Serge Ibaka had the superstar girlfriend. Steven Adams, he was a wild looking cat. You expect that team had personality. It was brash. But like I said, this team right here is just like, yeah, y'all winning, but where the young fire at?
Yeah, give me something. Like their biggest personality is Alex Caruso. Now, don't get me wrong, the GOAT is the GOAT, but still, like something. Give me something. And I think that was also part of the problem when it comes to the finals in general. When they first started playing, I think people that weren't actual basketball fans, they were not, and I'm talking about like hardcore that watch all the time, and know what's going on, who's who. I just think that like the biggest personality of the whole series was Halliburton. And I think it's just kind of a thing where I just think that's why this seems weird. I think you're right, Champ, that we expect the kids. Like I said, you're 24 years old. You should be like, please tell me they went to like a gentleman's club afterwards and just partied.
They probably wouldn't have some Lunchables later on.
No.
Hey, mama, can I have another glass of milk with my pizza, please?
All right now. Let's not get too crazy with it. They went out and celebrated.
The thing is this. We call them boring. We call them unexciting. But the thing is, this is the very, very thing that we criticize young players for when they are brash, when they are cocky.
Do you also think that SGA, there's a lot of online chatter on the way that SG plays, where it's very Harden-esque. Harden got a lot of flack for how he played. And I think I'm just kind of bringing in all these reasons on why there's not this overall acceptance of this title right now. I'm not so much agreeing with all of it. Like, I loved Tim Duncan and dude, they're there. Dude, they're there. Hey, I live in Wisconsin and we have them.
Leaf, you are absolutely terrible. You are absolutely terrible.
We have them.
The places you least think they'd have them are probably some of the wildest goddamn ones that have them.
Hey man, look, man.
Hey, shout out to Cruz and Chubby's up in Wisconsin Dells. Just saying.
All right.
That's from years ago when I was
don't tell on yourself.
A youngin'.
Don't be.
Bro, as long as we've been doing this show, I think we are past the point of realizing that man does not care.
I'm just saying, though, bro.
Dude, I think
Flash has been past the point of caring for a while.
Dude, I stopped caring 25 years ago.
Did that damn leave go? Did you see the crowd? You are terrible. You are terrible.
Please.
Hey, us older white folks can throw it back every once in a while. You hush up.
the white folk can do whatever once in a while.
Yeah, we can go back every once in a while.
We going on to the next
He Flash ain't wrong though. I mean, we from Georgia. We see a little bit of it down here. He
We
ain't
know how to
wrong.
drink up here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We could out-drink the whole world if one.
Yeah.
I also just want to point out something. Hey, us old retired white folk probably partied a lot harder than that OKC team did celebrating that title. Just saying.
Probably
Just
so,
saying.
because like I said, you didn't see that hard celebration like you would normally see. You didn't really
Because
see
I think they want to do it. Because I think they want to do it again. I don't think they want to take it too much for granted. Because I think they want to do it again. Because this is kind of partly where I disagree with the whole. I mean, I get the whole. There's an asterisk because there was so many injuries. But who in the West is really going to challenge them?
Jokic.
Who's really going to challenge them in the West?
I think Minnesota, as they get a little bit better and better. Yeah, I think that happens.
But here's the thing though, with Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is a beast. Don't get me wrong. Where Minnesota falls to OKC every time is depth. Minnesota has some depth, but they're not OKC depth. They're not OKC depth.
And to be fair to your point, the assets that they have to keep this, as much as I said they're a fart in the wind, they have no other team has the assets that they do. And honestly, depending on how the draft picks lay out, if you're OKC in the way that the NBA ratings are going, depending on how the cap plays, and they're going to be able to re-sign their top 3 guys. But if you're OKC, dude, I keep all those draft picks and just keep, you can let and Presti's been shown that he just draft dudes. Like you can just, I mean,
if you were Sam Presti, would you make it?
Oh, they can't beat a healthy Mavs team.
Nah, I disagree with you on that one.
Okay.
I disagree with you on that. I mean, I get it. It's Kyrie, AD. They both got to want to be there, and they both got to want to stay healthy. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know. A healthy man team. I don't know about that, Leaf. I don't know about that, Leaf. Oh no, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I think that they are looking out for their brands at this point. They are saying that, hey, we got to be respectable, so these endorsements can keep coming in and things like that. Because hey, we want to be marketable. You saw, as much as we giving them flack for not being brash, you see how the world treats a lot of guys when they are. So to Leaf's point, I think they're for trying to be marketable,
and that's a really good point too.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, if we're going to go with this whole SGA face of the league thing, which we're going to get into soon, like that plays into it. But it also at the same time, it's like, I got a question though. Was Tim Duncan ever the face of the league?
The only reason why he wasn't is because, look, I am a Laker fan through and through. The only reason why he wasn't the face of the league is because of Kobe. And then LeBron came in like right after that. And then you had Kobe, Shaq, and then it was Kobe, Shaq, and then LeBron. And then dominated.
And then even if you want to bring 2001 in it, I mean, people can argue this all they want. Allen Iverson was the face of the league in 2001.
Yes, he was. So, I know, yeah. But there was a lot of big faces. And like I said, the thing is, we always criticize Tim Duncan for it. But the thing is, Kareem was the greatest player we've ever seen. Arguably, this guy won 5 MVPs in a decade. I mean, was a preeminent MVP, and he wasn't even the face of the league at the time. They were struggling when he was at his best in the 70s to have a face of the league. They were struggling to get a face because nobody could really talk to him because he was very, very, stoic. He was very, very unfazed, and he really did not trust the media. He really didn't trust them. So people talk about Tim Duncan, but the same energy can be applied to Kareem because he will tell you this. He hated the media and he was irritated about him every time they asked him a question about something, especially when he changed his name.
But Duncan didn't have any kind of adversarial feelings toward the media. Duncan was just like it just was like, we're going to get the job done. We're going to do it. You know, there's a reason why Belichick and Pop were good friends. And then you got, you know, that's that, you know, just whatever. And then, you know, but you're right though about Kareem, like that they, part of the reason that the league struggled in general until Bird and Magic was
nobody could talk to him.
Inability to transcend, like transcend backs beyond basketball culture.
Yes. And the only person,
yes.
And I think he couldn't extend towards basketball culture. And let's just be real honest. Dr. J, although he was mainstream, he was more for the culture. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
he was
I get exactly what you're saying.
Like if Dr. J,
he wasn't for Middle America. Although they advertised him and they put him on that pedestal, he was not for Middle America. He was for the culture. He was the first one. Yeah.
Wait, are you arguing that Kareem wasn't for Middle America or Dr. J?
No, neither one of them was.
See, I disagree with that. I think Dr. J was more relatable as a human being. I think if Dr. J wins more, I think the league as a whole does better in the 70s.
Yeah, but unfortunately, half of his career was in the ABA. But like I said, that's why I said he was for the culture, because he didn't get into the NBA until 1977.
Yeah,
and if he wins more, we're definitely having different conversations about Dr. J too. Because I feel like Dr. J is a top 10 player who's not a top 10 player because he didn't win more.
Yeah. He would have won a little.
And that's kind of my point. Is
and unfortunately, he was never. Although, like I say, he was for the culture. He was never the absolute face of the league. But if you asked a hardcore basketball fan who's the best player in the league, then they would have still said Dr. J. Much like we was talking, I made this comparison about a year ago. Remember when we was talking about Asia Wilson the same way? If you ask a hardcore fan who's the best player in the league, they're going to say Asia Wilson. But if you ask the casuals fan, last year, I will say, and I do emphasize last year, they would have said either Angel or they would have said either Caitlin, depending on which way.
They would have said Caitlin.
Yeah. Depending on
especially after the Olympics, they would have said Caitlin.
Depending on how biased that you were, I would say, because you still have some biased guys out there and some biased, cats who will say Angel's still better, and which we'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, depending on who you ask, it depends on who you ask. But yeah, I made that comparison last year that Asia Wilson was the Dr. J to the WNBA what Dr. J was to the NBA back in the 80s and the late 70s, because they're the best player. But because the attention is shifted on these young cats, then they don't get the attention that they deserve. But to your point, Flash, yes, they did try to advertise. I remember the Dr. Chapstick commercial. I remember Dr. Chapstick. Remember he had the Chapstick commercial. He had the Converse commercial. One of the first dudes with a shoe deal. Remember when he had the Volkswagen commercial? When he had that commercial. He was, but the thing is, for the most part, he was for the culture, I would say. But let's get into
Champ favorite wrestler. Speaking of
Jade.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I will never forget that, because that's how I first met Flash, because he stitched that video. That was the funniest thing. And then they said, who is a wrestler that you would risk it all for? And then I said, there's only one correct answer. And I put Jade Cargill. And I never forget, Flash came out of the way and said, dude.
Bro, don't get me wrong. That's a great answer.
He said, dude, no. He put Alexa Bliss. But that's the story for another day. We'll put that in the documentary after they pay us $100 million.
Facts.
So, does this make SGA the face of the league?
No.
Yeah. Mm-mm. He's still not even the best player in the league.
No, and again, he's too boring right now. There's nothing. All right, I'll ask it this way: has there ever been a face of the NBA league that the face of the league in the NBA that's not been from a major market?
That what?
That hasn't been from a major market. Braun.
LeBron.
Braun in Cleveland. Braun in Cleveland. That's it.
That's it.
No, Shaq when he was in Orlando.
No, he wasn't the face of the league.
Yeah. I don't think it was face of the league. That was just, because Shaq in Orlando, Jordan was the face of the league even after he retired the first time. Yeah. Jordan was still the face. Yeah, Jordan was still the face of the league even after the first retirement. So I would probably say Braun in Cleveland, and that's it. Realistically,
only LeBron, and that's it. And I'm sorry, but SGA doesn't have anywhere near the. And I'm a LeBron whatever, but he's got nothing on LeBron. Like there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. What draws you to SGA to be the what's marketable besides the fact that he's doesn't do anything wrong?
The very thing that deters us from him is the thing that's supposed to attract us to him, and that's the thing. And if he was a brash guy, people would be talking about that. But as humans, as sports creators, and journalists like we are,
we ain't satisfied.
We ain't never satisfied. It's like, oh, this guy's brash. This guy's brash. He's cocky. He's arrogant. But the minute
I don't like him. But then you get somebody like SGA. He needs to talk more.
I'll give you the perfect example. Okay. Daniel Cormier and John Jones. Everybody couldn't stand Daniel Cormier. And the dude has done nothing wrong ever in his life. And was one of the greatest light heavyweights ever. John Jones did everything wrong in his life, including coke and hit and run and steroids. And everybody wanted John Jones to whoop that ass. And I still, to this day, don't get it.
Kind of like the Tyson Holyfield fight. Kind of like the Tyson Holyfield fight.
Yeah,
and this goes to my point of if you come across more human and relatable, as in you're not this perfect cookie cutter whatever, it's better for marketing. You're more relatable. It's when you're a boring just whatever, nobody relates to that. That's why, honest to God, Brady didn't start getting liked until he went to Tampa, because he started to show his personality more. So I just look at SGA and I just go I don't even think I've ever heard I don't even know what the dude sounds like. I just look at it, I just go what are you offering besides you're good at basketball? And I just don't see it. So, and Sports BSP is right. It's supposed to be the face of the league, but you also can go too far with it and be stupid.
You had a problem with pew-pews.
Zion, keeps eating Krispy Kreme, and Cooper
keep playing with wisdom teeth.
Yeah, and keeps playing with whatever.
Yeah, and out there on West Coast Productions.
If Cooper flags it, I'll put it this way: Cooper flag could be what everybody thought and hoped Leitner would be.
Could he be the Caitlin Clark of the NBA if he's that good?
No.
He can't. No, he won't be. When you're comparing about how marketable somebody is, he can't be that.
No.
But to Cooper Flag's advantage, his skill set translates very well to modern day NBA. So I do think in the right situation, he could become a really, really good player, because his skill set does translate really, really well. The athleticism, the ability to play defense, ability to shoot, surprising ability to play make. His skill set translates really well to the league.
And he's kind of a cocky son of a bitch too. Let's just be honest.
Exactly.
You got to be cocky in order to play in Rucker Park and Duke.
Oh, you got game. You got game to play in Rucker. You got game to play Rucker.
He was going toe to toe with the Dream Team, the updated version.
He was giving them work. He was giving you work.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sitting there going, like, can he be? Sure, but we're a long ways off. Like, we are like 5-6 years off of him being face of the league. And like when it comes to Caitlin Clark, like comparing him to that, Caitlin Clark is Caitlin's on like she's on like a Tiger Woods, Wayne Gretzky, Jordan type level when it comes to being the face marketing of a sport and or league. That's what she is. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about her talent. I'm not talking about how good she is at basketball. I'm just saying she is on that level of marketability. Cooper Flagg will never be that to the NBA.
In the NBA, Cooper Flagg is just another guy. Caitlin Clark could literally revolutionize what women's basketball is.
Yes, the whole sport.
The whole sport.
For the closest thing that like Cooper Flagg would have to essentially change the game of basketball, something that like Steph Curry did or whatever. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to do that. And even Steph Curry, and I mean this in all due respect to like, I'm just saying Steph Curry won't have as big of a cultural impact as Caitlin Clark will. And that's saying something because Steph Curry's impact on the game of basketball and like in terms of like how
play,
yes, the play
because everybody wants to shoot the 3-point now.
Everybody went from wanting to dunk to shooting the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But Caitlin Clark's the Caitlin Clark effect is again like I would say I think Champ, you made the comparison to Tiger Woods. Was it you that said that?
No, I said me and you was talking about Wayne.
Okay,
we made the comparison to Wayne.
She will affect the game of the like she will affect women's basketball like what essentially what Tiger Woods did for golf. Like that's how huge she's going to be as long as she stays healthy and wins.
It'll be even better if Nike stops slow rolling them shoes.
That's the thing with Caitlin. That's the thing with Caitlin. She has to win.
Yeah, she's got to win.
Well, I don't think she has to win necessarily right now. No. I don't think this team is equipped for because the DeWanna Bonners situation, which we'll get to later, it's thus far it's a bust. She hasn't been doing that good, but we'll get to that one a little bit later.
Okay.
I don't think that he's another boring player. He's not exciting. He's not exciting. He's a good player, but he's not necessarily exciting.
Honestly, I think Ant would be the closest thing to being the face of the league if he wasn't in Minnesota.
Yeah, if he was in, let's say, Los Angeles, maybe. But I digress.
I think if Ant wins in Minnesota, I think he could cancel some of that out a little bit.
Personally, I just think I honestly think it's good. It will be Luka. I think it will be.
I think that's who the league wants, to be honest with you.
I think Luka will be the face of the league. Not only is he in LA right now, but here's the weird thing about him being in LA. So, no offense, Champ, but most people outside of LA and then like the Brandos or whatever, like as big as LA, the Lakers are, there's also a lot of hate towards the Lakers. A lot of people hate the Lakers.
Yeah.
But they love Luka and they feel like he got shafted by Dallas. So like if anybody's going to be the face of the league in LA or in any market right now, like it's not going to be Jokic. He's too boring. As entertaining as his boring is, it's not going to be him. Giannis is in Milwaukee, unfortunately, and he's not winning enough. Unless he wins another 1 or 2.
Okay.
But I think Luka is your best shot to be the face of the league. But honestly, right now, as long as LeBron and Steph are in the league, it's those two. Like we're having kind of a meaningless argument right now. The face of the league is LeBron and Steph. They just are. They will be until they're gone.
Yeah. PSP just said that. Speaking of Los Angeles, let's move over to them. What is the future of the Lakers without the Puss family? as you all know, I'm a hardcore Laker fan. My mom's a Laker fan. You know, I'm a fan because of my mom. I watched Magic Johnson's last final, and I tell this story all the time. I asked my dad, who is 32? And he said, that's Magic Johnson. This team is going to be good for a long time. I said, that's my team. I was only 4 years old when I said that, and I was watching the finals with my mom and dad. So the entire time that I've been a Laker fan, I have known nothing but the Buss family being the owners of the team. At the same time, I will repeat this because I said this on PSP's pod, and I said this on a video, and I said this on a TikTok video, so it's nothing new. I feel like that the Lakers lost their swag once Dr. Buss passed away. I feel like a big part of that Laker aura was taken away when Dr. Buss unfortunately left us and passed away back in 2013. Because when Dr. Buss was there, he was running the team, it was big free agent splashes. It was top news. It was big trades. It was things that were happening in that Laker organization that was the norm. Us getting teams to trade, us getting teams to make bad trades so we can land the first overall pick on an already good team so we can draft a great player like a James Worthy. So the entirety of this, or the entirety of the time that I've been a fan of the Lakers, it's been the Buss family. Unfortunately, I have said this. With Jeanie and Jim Buss, it wasn't the same Laker aura. And I compared them virtually to what Jerry Jones was doing for a very, very long time. A lot of show, a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of, we're going to get this, we're going to do this, and then like a popcorn fart in church. So with that being said, I'm glad that they sold the team. The team was kind of starting, although we have LeBron and these big superstars, the team, that Laker aura was gone as we knew it when Dr. Buss passed away. And unfortunately, Jeanie Buss, as great as an owner, as great as a governor as she wasn't able to maintain that aura and had that cachet like Dr. Buss did.
Well, she's going to stay on as governor, though.
Yeah, but eventually, you know that she will be phased out. But the thing is, she will own like 14% of the team once it's all said and done. But I will say this. I'm liking the fact that this team, that this ownership group, the Guggenheim Group, has taken over for two reasons. Number one, Magic is going to be back in Los Angeles. And LA is going to have to go through this healing process with Magic. Because remember how he was ousted with Rob Pelinka and company. Remember how he was ousted? He called Rob Pelinka. There was, friction between him and Rob Pelinka and, the backstabbing and things of that nature that Magic Johnson mentioned. Then this group, the Guggenheim Group, they own the Dodgers. And if you know the Dodgers, they don't mind spending that money.
Heck, nah, they don't mind spending.
They don't mind spending that money, and I still hate them to this day because you stole Freddie Freeman. But I
know. We know. I know. Nah, they didn't steal Freddie Freeman. I know how that went.
I know the story, but still. But had there been no loss there, we would have had more of a room to, maneuver. But they stole Mr. Brave from us, and we had a discussion about this. He has turned into essentially the new Mr. October. I remember me, you, and Flash having this discussion about Freddie Freeman turning.
I said he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the fact that they used to call Reggie Jackson Mr. October, and now essentially he's taken over that mantle of Mr. October at this point, because of how he's been playing in the last couple of World Series. So we have about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can say that. You can definitely say that.
So with this group, Magic Johnson is going to be back in Los Angeles. This Guggenheim Group does not mind spending money, and they don't mind moving off of players that they know is not in their future. We saw that in the job that they did with the Dodgers. They're not afraid to move off of players who they know are not in their future. So it's going to be interesting to see how good this group is. And another plus, they are of Los Angeles. They are a Los Angeles-based team. They're not an outsider that's going to be thinking about, well, maybe we need to move the team. Los Angeles doesn't have to worry about that because the Guggenheim Group, Mark Walter, is Los Angeles. So there's a lot of perks that come with this. But I'm not going to lie. I'm glad to see the team sold. Like I said, I think the Laker aura was kind of losing its luster. I think that a lot of times it was just a lot of smoke and mirrors. But I think this group is going to be darn good. I mean, and like PSP stated, hiring Mike D'Antoni instead of Freya Jackson, traded for Dwight Howard, leaving $30 million. I mean, a whole lot of things. And then, remember the gym bus disaster that we had to go through all of those years after during the Kobe years, that was the latter years. So it was a lot of things that went wrong after Dr. Bus passed away. And I'm glad that the team has been sold so that the new ownership can kind of put their stamp on there and see what they can do. But what do you guys think?
This is definitely one of the more intriguing kind of like, selling of an organization that we've seen in a while, with it being the Lakers. I mean, if I'm a Lakers fan, if I'm gonna want anybody to take over this organization, it's definitely gonna be someone with the LA Dodgers organization, because if you've seen the way they've been really the last few years, like you said, Champ, they're not afraid to spend, but at the same time, it's for me when it comes to front offices and organizations and just stability. One of the more important things as far as just the product on the field is how you scout and how you're able to find talent. Granted, the LA Dodgers do a whirlwind as far as free agency, but at the end of the day, they find the talent. Again, they're willing to pay it up. They find the talent, they put them out there, they go out bust tail and win games, and they're competing for National League and World Championships. I know the NBA is a different breed, but I want to see as far as like who they start to bring in, who are they going to start looking at, who are they going to start bringing in as far as like the scouting and the talent, and how they're going to be able to start a trickle down effect from the top down, into the main portion of the organization, where it's the basketball operations, the coaching staff, and all that. So I'm definitely intrigued to see where it goes. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with this, how they're going to kind of restore that, or restore the swag, like you said. I was shocked for one. I was definitely shocked, because when I saw the news break that they were sold, I'm like, what? They did what? Because I honestly, even with Dr. Jerry Buss passing away, and with Jim and with Jeannie, I didn't see them selling that team anytime soon. I didn't see them selling that team. And then they did it. It was kind of like maybe they partially understood, the ore wasn't where it needed to be, and they needed somebody to come in, kind of reset it a little bit, give the franchise a fresh start. So I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, you let the ownership of the LA Dodgers just come in and just see what they can do with it, because you see the LA Dodgers if you follow the LA Dodgers, it's like we talk about Major League Baseball not being able to really they're not the best as far as like advertising and pushing them, marketing their guys and all that, all that. Don't tell that to the LA Dodgers, because that's one thing they've always known how to do is market their talent, whether it's local or across the nation wide. LA knows how to market their players. I'll tell you that much for sure. So I feel like they're going to be able to kind of restore that a little bit with the Lakers, because now it's about Luka. You know what it is. You know who the future of that franchise is. You know who ultimately is about to be the face of that franchise for the next however many years in the future. So now the main thing is about making sure that he is in the best position to succeed now. This got to work. between them coming in, and then Luka. This will be his first full year this will be his first full year in the franchise. They have to this has got to work. I feel like there's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This has got to work, because if it works, not only are you restoring the aura, but more than likely you have a winning basketball team that's competing year in and year out for the Western Conference and ultimately for an NBA title. If this doesn't work, boy, I mean, it's like you don't want to have to reset again. So, and I know it's harder dealing with ownership as far as like buying the team and the money that's involved and all that. Because this was a $10 billion sale. Like, man, this was like a $10 billion sale. So it's like, I feel like, am I confident enough in this ownership group, knowing what they've done with the Dodgers? Though I am, and they've really given me no reason to. But I do think, for the sake of the franchise, this has to work, and really almost from the first year on. Like, if they're gonna restore the aura, they got to restore from the jump. It can't be no like 3-4 year plan. These are the Los Angeles Lakers, and those fans aren't patient enough to wait on stuff like that. So they're gonna have to come in from the jump, and they're gonna have to get it popping soon and quick. So we'll definitely see where it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much really all I got to say about it. Like, if they want to get it, it's got to get the jumping from the start.
Flash.
I mean, I think it was time for a change. I think you're right in the aspect that the Lakers as a franchise has kind of lost its aura. Even though they won a title in the bubble, I think this is not me agreeing with this, but I think a lot of people kind of look at that title as a joke in a way. And so I think the LeBron thing, has, again, you got a title, but then, you get this like circus along with it with Bronny, and it's just I don't know. It's just been,
like I said, that Laker aura has not been there. We haven't, outside of LeBron, and I know we got Luka and things of that nature, but it used to be where once you got two big-time stars, it was on up from there. And that's what attracted other free agents. People don't understand it. The thing that attracted Rick Fox to come to Los Angeles was Shaq and Kobe. He was like, after I got renounced from Boston, I said I was going to go play for, I was going to play for the Lakers. I know that was a cardinal sin, me coming from Boston, but, I was going to play for them. Brian Shaw, that was another free agent, another domino that fell. J.R. Ryder, guys like that. That was what happens. That's what happens, when you have, the aura of a Laker. And the thing is, another thing that changed, you don't necessarily have to be in Los Angeles or one of these huge markets now in order for you to succeed as far as branding is concerned. You can be, small-time guy, but you can be big on social media. Funny thing about Shaq, he became bigger when he got to Los Angeles, but he was just as big when he was in Orlando. I think that was the beginning of that, But to be honest with you, like I said, I'm glad that this is over with. I mean, I'm glad that it's under new ownership. I'm glad that the new ownership can come in and put their stamp on it. And like I said, I'm glad they're not afraid to move off players. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is move off of a player, even if they are a fan favorite. Remember what the Golden State Warriors did. Remember, the original guy that was supposed to lead them into the stratosphere wasn't Steph Curry. It was Monte Ellis. And they moved off of Monte Ellis. And at that time, people were saying, what are you doing? Because Steph had those leg injuries that he had. He had those leg injuries. So yeah, you can't be afraid to move off players if, in fact, you see something greater either on the bench or in the draft that's coming. And that's what I like about this team. Hey, the Dodgers have moved off of great players. They let one of their greatest players go to their chief rival when it comes to the Padres. And they wasn't afraid to move off of him.
No.
And that's part of being in ownership. That's part of being in it. You have to not be afraid to go Carmelo and risk it all at a certain point. And that's this ownership. Rather than, with the current ownership, you letting guys stick around way too long. The whole Kobe situation, the whole LeBron situation. You letting these teams, you're just trying to, build and shield. It's like every 5 seconds you're trying to come up with patchwork in order to keep the team relevant because you don't want to go through a rebuild. Although your footprint is in Los Angeles, I understand that if you're in Los Angeles as a winner, but in LA, when you're the Lakers, they don't mind taking a year or so in order to rebuild. The problem is when you don't bring the valid players in or have the front office capability in order to draft the great players that you need, which they did. They drafted great players. Unfortunately, they let them get away. When you think about Lonzo Ball, when you think about Julius Randle, when you think about Ingram, when you think about some of those great players who went other places and did something, they let those players get away because they were so obsessed with the superstar, which it is Los Angeles. But the thing is, you could attract more superstars if you're winning long term.
I still maintain that young nucleus they traded around LeBron to get AD. I think they get more than one title if they keep that young nucleus around and build off of that.
I 1,000% agree. I 1,000% agree with that.
Okay, I've been saying that for years, and most people have called me crazy, and I go, I don't understand. You could have, don't get me wrong, like LeBron's already extended his career till he's 40 years old, but you could have extended that career more. Now, do those players grow as well as they did with playing with LeBron? Maybe not. That's kind of the debate, but.
Hey, I'll never forget with that team, the whole gimmick behind that. Everybody was yelling at those players in the crowd, LeBron is going to trade you. That was the funniest.
They were LeBron's first year there when those players were still there. They were the 5th seed in the Western Conference before he got hurt. And he got hurt, and then just the
hurt.
Yeah,
and then sat out the rest of the year.
See, I don't know about that. They would have, but they were the 5th seed though. They were the 5th seed. They would win a game, and even in the game he got hurt, they destroyed the Golden State Warriors that night. So I don't know. People, I don't know. I don't agree with everything Bron does, but I don't know. We try to throw the conspiracy theories around a little too much. I don't know. They were the 5th seed before he got hurt. It'd be one thing if they were like the 7th or 8th seed and barely holding on. They were the 5th seed moving upwards, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, we put them like a government mule that night. But let's go. Anything you want to add, Flash?
No, not on that subject. No.
Let's go back to the East. How wide open is the East with Halliburton, Dame, and Tatum injured?
Ooh.
Hey, look. I think this sounds one. I think it opens the door for the Knicks.
Yes,
same thing. Yeah, I think it does too.
But I also think that this gives a window to Giannis to win another title in Milwaukee.
I just don't trust Doc Rivers.
I don't either. Don't get me wrong. Like if we woke up tomorrow and he wasn't the Bucks head coach, I don't think anybody's upset.
We wouldn't shed a tear over it. We wouldn't shed a tear over it at all.
No, I still think it's still frustrating to me, but I don't trust that. But it at least opens up the door or the window. to do that. Like, and however they get, and now especially now, however you get these players there, the attraction to go play with Giannis in Milwaukee, however you get them there, that is a better, offer because of how wide open the East is. But I do think that this opens up the door for the Knicks. I think that's the big one, and Cleveland. I think those two teams kind of are the two teams that you're all right. Now this is your shot. One of you two teams can figure this out now. That's kind of that's my thing. I think it's wide open. I do, and it's gonna be weird, the fact that all three of those injuries happen in the East.
Right.
Very interesting conference next year and how things play out.
You have some big time free agents next year as well. Van Fleet is a free agent. Kyrie Irving is a free agent. James Harden is a free agent. Julius Randle is a free agent.
Well, Irving tore his ACL, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He ain't doing nothing.
And Clint Capella is a free agent. Not to mention,
I would not call him big time. I think he would. I think Clint Capella would definitely bring defense and rebounding to a team that needs it. I don't think Clint Capella is not a needle mover, but they're bigger names than Clint Capella.
right now. So the Knicks were the 2 seed. I'm sorry, the Celtics were the 2 seed, and the Pacers were the 4 seed. The Bucks were 5. Right now, I think that really opens the door. I think, again, I think Milwaukee, it opens up the door. Detroit's going to get another year older. And then, Orlando just made the trip, the trades that they did. So right now, to me, the 2 favorites would be Cleveland and the Knicks. But I think the Bucks, like I said, opens again. I don't like Doc Rivers either, but I think it opens it up though. I really do. It gives Giannis a shot at least. Because Dame, I mean, he's out, 1. And then 2, I just, the experiment with Dame has been even when he's been playing, it's just, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so I don't think it's going to actually be that big of a loss not having Dame. And honestly, I think Boston's looking to trade Drew Holiday again, aren't they? Or they're looking to get rid of him, or he's a free agent. Correct.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that's going on.
Don't be surprised.
They're open to moving him. They're open to moving him.
Don't be surprised. As much as Milwaukee shafted him, he loved Milwaukee and being here and playing with Giannis. Don't be surprised if he ends up back in a Buck uniform.
Hey, the East for me, like I stated with, I think PSP brought this up to me, and y'all. I think y'all brought this up to me as well. And we'll get to this later. Leaf Orlando. Orlando just made that big trade for Desmond Bane.
That's who I was thinking. I was thinking about Orlando too. I mean, that's who I was thinking about. Like when you presented this topic, this was one of my favorite topics that you presented, because I think more, even though I'm not saying Dame's still a really good player, but I think the Tatum and Halliburton injuries opens the door immensely.
Yes.
The Dame one, but I mean, you got to look at Milwaukee and where they were. I'm looking at Tatum's injury and Halliburton's injury, and I think it opens the door immensely just off of those two alone. Because the Eastern Conference, just for some reason, you could have 2 or 3 really, really good teams, and you're just okay, yeah, one of those 3 are going to get there. And then it's the 4th or the 5th or a 6th seed that just makes a run for no apparent reason. It just never fails. Orlando, I think Orlando is the biggest team as far as maybe get into that top 4 conversation. I think Orlando is the biggest one there. I think it just opens the door for mid-level teams in the Eastern Conference to maybe hey, you know what? These guys are out. You know, we're normally competing around the play-in. We can actually kind of look at like a top 6 or something like that. You know, I hate to be a homer, but I got to bring my boys up in this. They're stuck in the top. They're stuck in the play-in. They make a move or two. They could talk about top 6, like potentially going to the playoffs without having to go to the play-in. So I think it opens the door up for a lot of the mid-level teams that are used to going to the play-in that can now say, you know what, we got a shot to get there without having to go to the play-in. I think the biggest one is still Orlando, because Orlando is just Desmond Bane is like his 3-point shooting. He can play defense. He's going to bring something to Orlando. He's adding to the Orlando Magic. He's definitely added to them. I definitely think they're going to be a team not to play with and not to mess with, in 2025. Because you still got Powell, you still got Banchero, you still got Franz Wagner, you still got Jalen Suggs. Wendell Carter Jr., it was like he was kind of hit and miss, but it's like he has a good ceiling when he's on his game. So I think Orlando I think Orlando is the one you look at as far as like not New York, not Cleveland, that can be like, okay, I see an opportunity, let's go get it. I think Orlando is like that one that it really kind of opens the door for, because they're one of the teams I like to see as far as like they have players that presents matchup problems for like the better teams, as far as like having long athletic guys who could take you from the outside, take you from the inside. They can also play defense that can just cause you matchup nightmares up and down the board. Orlando just fits into that so well that they could go in like a team like Cleveland, who they gave. Let's be real, they gave Cleveland fits. Let's just keep it a buck. So they can give a team like Cleveland fits. They can give a team like New York fits because they can run the floor. I mean, they're athletic. So I like what the Orlando Magic is doing, and I definitely think they're going to have a say-so this season as far as the Eastern Conference. I definitely think Orlando can potentially jump into that top 4 conversation. I really do. They got something brewing down there in Orlando, and quite frankly, I'm a Hawks fan. I mean, they're Southeast Division, but I like seeing it. I like what Orlando is. I like what the Orlando Magic is doing right now.
Okay. Flash.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned Orlando. I think this opens up the whole. I think Cleveland has no excuse right now. Like now you really got no excuse. You know, you talk about who you play in front of you. The Knicks too. The Knicks got no excuse now. You know, so I think you're going to see some teams that just. I think Orlando's the big one. That's the sexy one, but. There's an open door, and let's just see what happens. I want to see how the offseason plays out.
Okay. So, real quick, who has the best trade, Houston or Orlando? Real quick.
Oh, it's Houston.
Okay. Flash.
I think in the chat I said Orlando just because I think it sets Orlando up to succeed a little bit more. I think Durant is I think he's past his prime at this point, even though Houston didn't give up anything for him, which is kind of telling. I think that goes to my point that Durant's not Durant anymore. Like getting Durant isn't,
you got to score.
Yeah, it's not as world-breaking as it was.
But I think Houston at this stage in his career, for his skill set and what the Houston Rockets already have built as a roster and what he brings to it, he's a better fit for Houston than he is for Phoenix. Because honestly, he goes to Houston. He just got to score. Houston got everything else there. They rebound. They play deep. They play defense. They do that. He brings efficiency. He brings scoring. He brings shooting, which is one of the biggest things that held Houston back. They were 21st in the league in three-point shooting. The shooting is what held them back tremendously.
So then are they on par with OKC now?
I wouldn't pick them over OKC in the 7-game series, but I do still think they're in top 4 Western Conference conversation. They're still in top four conversation.
They were the 2 seed already.
They were the 2 seed. But the thing is like when I first heard about the trade, I was like, nah. But then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Jalen Green is like pretty overrated. He's good, but he's overrated. Dylan Brooks, I mean, yeah, okay. It's Dylan Brooks. It's Dylan Brooks. He can shoot the ball. He can play defense. He's a headache. So, okay. My thing is, even with KD there now and the fact that he can still shoot and he's still an efficient scorer, everybody else around him still got to shoot because he can't do it all by himself. Because if Houston is like in the bottom half of the league and shooting the 3 again, they're not going to get far. And that was ultimately their demise against Golden State in the first round. They couldn't shoot with them. That was ultimately their demise. So their shooting has to take a tremendous leap in 2025. And I said this in the chat. Before I let you go, I'll finish this and I'll let you go. Everybody's talking about who from Houston should we be looking at to take the biggest leap for the team to really get to where they want to go. And everybody was like Sengun. And as much as I agree with it, the one I want to see personally is Amen Thompson. Because I feel like Amen Thompson has the skill set to where if his offensive skill set can really improve and get to where his defense already is, he's scary. And if he takes the lead, because I feel like kind of Sengun is what he is. I think he can get a little better, particularly in his scoring, because he's already a heck of a playmaker. If he improves offensively as far as putting the ball in the basket, KD, look, we can talk about KD all we want. That man's still going to give you 25, 26 game. Let's just call it for what it is. He going to score. If Amen Thompson gives you that option offset of KD to where you're not if you're not Houston, where it's like you take KD out the game, we're not worried about anybody else. If you have to worry about Amen Thompson from the perimeter, Houston is going to be a problem. So, yeah.
I mean, adding Durant in general will make all of the surrounding guys better shooters in general. They'll have more open looks just because of KD. So in that aspect, like their shooting will improve, and KD can still affect the game in that aspect. Like you can't just leave KD open, obviously. So I mean, I think the Orlando, excuse me, I think the Orlando trade is better, but
long time.
But what Houston gave up, which was essentially really nothing for KD, is pretty good. Like that, it's kind of a toss up, really. It's just, but KD isn't, again, it's not what he used to be. So I think that's the issue. I think that's the thing. If this is 3 years ago, it's KD hands down. It's Houston hands down. But I think now at this point, now it's not.
Okay. I'm going to ask this question real quick. This got to be quick. Can he win in like 60 seconds? What will it mean for his legacy if he's able to win with Houston?
They shut up about Golden State. He wins a championship in Houston. They shut up about Golden State. Point blank, period. They shut up about it. Look, he is going to be attached to Golden State from the standpoint he had to ride another man's coattails to get 2 championships. If he could take this squad, a young squad, to a ring, you shut up about Golden State.
What if he can't?
If he can't,
then his career is forever affected by that. It gets worse.
I think Isaiah Thomas, and I'm gonna be quick about this. He said this to Draymond Green in an interview. He said, if you really, really look at it, KD is what saved you guys from being one of the most tainted teams in league history. Y'all won the first title, but you have to think about Kyrie and Kevin Love was hurt. You was going against LeBron, Tristan Thompson, and Matthew Dellavedova. About that. He said then the very next year, y'all had them down 3-1. Y'all was 73-9. They came back and beat y'all. If
Yeah.
you ask me, and this is what Isaiah Thomas said, if you ask me, y'all was on y'all way down. KD came in and leveled the playing field in a hurry. So without him, you can't talk about it. Like I said, people are going to always, in my humble opinion, take the easy way out and say, if it wasn't for you going to Golden State, you never would have won a ring. But the thing is, and people can quote me and people can bash me all they want to, Golden State needed KD just as much, if not more, than he needed them.
Yeah, but I could make the same argument that like Cleveland doesn't come back from 3-1 if Draymond doesn't get suspended.
Yeah, the thing is, there's a lot of arguments that you can make with that situation. But unfortunately, Draymond got suspended. He got suspended for one game. You still had 2 more games in order to win after he came back. And then the last game was at home. You was playing in Oracle. Everything was for you at that point. Everything was going in your favor. You was playing in Oracle. LeBron's record wasn't good at the Oracle. Cleveland had to go on the road. So there's a lot of factors. But like I said, I think that a lot of things contribute. I think that the Golden State Warriors needed KD just as much as he needed them.
So do
and
you
I don't think.
Well, so then I guess so. You're saying that you guys are thinking that the KD, if KD wins one in Houston, is basically the same. Because let's not as big as Curry was and is, there was still that until he won that title against Boston a couple years ago.
Yes, it was. And I think that will be, I think that the other 2 people are going to try to hold it against them. That was a weak move. Was it really? Was it really? Because think about it. Draymond Green called him.
Well, but what I'm saying though so you're thinking that if KD wins one in Houston, it has the same effect as
especially with
Curry ring a couple of years ago against Boston.
Absolutely,
it alleviates both of their legacies.
Exactly.
I think I like that, and I like that, and I think it does.
Yes, and especially when you think about Houston hasn't had anything since Hakeem Olajuwon left. They haven't had anything to tree about.
Yeah.
James Harden got close, no cigar. There was an injury during that Game 7 with Chris Paul.
But they still missed however many threes in a row it was in that Game 7.
Yeah, so it was a lot. They haven't had anything to really, really just rave about in Clutch City since Hakeem Olajuwon and company. So that would be huge, especially if you really want. I mean, if you really want to be honest with you, that's Houston winning the championship is kind of like Atlanta winning the championship in basketball. So when you think about that, that would cement his legacy. If you really, like I said, and this is Isaiah Thomas that said this. This is not something that I just made up. And he said this to Draymond Green during an interview. This is something that an all-time great, Isaiah Thomas, from the Bad Boy Pistons, something that he said to Draymond, that after that 73-9 season, the Golden State Warriors was on their way down. KD came in and he kept them afloat because they were just unstoppable. So I mean, you gotta give people their props. It might not be popular what he did, of course. Everything's not going to be popular, but the thing is, if KD is not there, we could be very well talking about a whole nother legacy for LeBron at this point, because he gave them all that they can handle. I mean, that first finals when they lost 4-2, he gave them all that they can have with Tristan Thompson and Matthew Dellavedova. You remember Kevin Love was out. Remember David Black? He ran Kyrie into the ground that series, caused him to hurt his knee. So yeah, he needed them. Golden State needed KD just as much as he needed them. He wanted a title. They wanted to stay on top. It's kind of like Shawn Michaels and HBK. They needed each other in order to be one of the greatest teams, arguably, in the history of the league. I mean, they called that team the Hamptons lineup. At one point, they called them the Hamptons lineup. It was Draymond Green, Iguodala, KD, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. The best small ball lineup that you're ever gonna see.
They called it. It was the Hamptons, but it was another name they gave it to that I liked more. I can't remember what it was called. Huh?
The Death Squad.
The Death Squad. Yeah, the Death Squad. I love that name.
Yeah, but Flash will be returning to us soon. Let's go to the next segment real quick. Oh, real quick before he because I think we covered this. Does the injuries in the East validate the Orlando trade for Desmond Bain? What do you think about that?
I wouldn't necessarily say validate, but adding a guy like Desmond Bain really helps open a door for Orlando to really kind of like I said, like when we were talking about Orlando getting in that top 4 conversation. I wouldn't necessarily say validate, but opens the door immensely for them. And then bringing in a guy like Desmond Bain only adds to that. So wouldn't say validate, but definitely opens up a big opportunity for them to get a top 4 seed and a home playoff series in the first round. So it opens up a lot for Orlando.
Yeah, I agree. Where do you see Ja Morant playing next year? Do you think he's back in Memphis?
Why do you? I mean, why are you going to trade him? Why would you trade him at this point? The only reason you're trading him is if you're absolutely blowing that up. You're trading him. You're trading Jaren Jackson Jr. If you're going to trade Ja, blow the whole thing up and start over. I personally don't think you blow unless you just find the right moves. He's playing in Memphis, cause that's how I feel about it. I think if you're going to trade him, you just blow the whole thing up. That's how I feel with Ja. I mean, and the thing is where would he go? I mean, I don't know where would he go right now that would make sense as far as like another franchise for a guy like Ja. Where would he go that would be a good fit?
I don't have a clue, to be honest with you, but
I don't either, because you look at his style of play as a point guard. I mean, he's an awesome attacker of the rim. Don't get me wrong. I mean, his playmaking is definitely underrated, but he's not the greatest shooter. I mean, he can score, but he's not the greatest shooter. So it's like, I mean, I'm not going to say teams wouldn't take Ja because Ja is a hell of a player, but I'm just looking at it schematically. Where would he go?
That's a good question. Flash, what do you think? Does Ja Morant end up being is Ja Morant in Memphis next year?
I mean, okay, you guys are from. If you're Atlanta, would you trade for him?
Ja, no. We tried the 2-point guard thing. No, because on Salah has already said we ride with Trey next year. Quit talking about trading him. No. I would know. If there are better trades. If I'm Atlanta, I do something big, but not Ja Morant. I will look at Jaren Jackson Jr. before I look at Ja Morant if I'm Atlanta from a schematic standpoint.
Okay, so you're going to need a team or a franchise that is stable, and has a good culture, and honestly, if I'm any team that's going to trade for him, I mean, you got teams like San Antonio that's looking to make a trade to add to Wemby and their draft pick. If you're the Lakers, do you trade for Ja Morant?
No.
What?
No.
Wait. It depends on what position you want to play Luka. If you want Luka to be your 2,
you don't have
it's something you look at.
Why can't they just do what Luka just came from a team where he was playing with Kyrie?
We know Kyrie's more of a 2 than he is a point guard. I mean, let's keep it above.
He's more of a 2 guard than he is a point guard.
Yeah, but both of them can bring the ball up. It's not like
Ja's not the shooter Kyrie is to where you can play more positionless basketball.
No,
you put Ja at the point. You put Ja at the point. You put Luka at the 2. Luka can play off ball. Ja cannot.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a parade.
He's not a good fit in Milwaukee either, because you have to have Giannis. Giannis is your point.
Giannis needs shooters.
Man,
You're
not gonna go to San Antonio.
No.
Yeah, not with De'Aaron Fox already there.
Man, I don't see a really good, stable franchise that needs a point guard.
Tyrese Maxey, he's a point guard, isn't he?
He's a point guard.
Okay. That's what I was about to say. Why don't you try Philadelphia?
Nah, Tyrese Maxey's there. They don't need a point
I got
guard.
a question. How much would you have to give up to get him at this point?
You
gonna have to give for Ja. You gonna have to give up a bit of a ransom for him.
And I don't see anybody right now that I'm looking at. I'm trying to look at
the Clippers.
What?
The Clippers.
You stole my thunder, young man.
I like that. I like that.
I was going to say the two teams that you could see. The first, I was going to say Golden State, and the second team was going to be the Clippers.
Yeah, the Clippers, because they're going to have to relaunch after James Harden's a free agent. I'm not so sure if they're going to want him back. Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi, the quiet assassin. I don't think he's, going to be up to par for very, very long.
I think later on in the season, he was starting to get healthy again, and he was starting to get healthy again, and he was starting to look like old Kawhi again. So you hope he can get through. If he gets through
I hear that, dude. We hear that every year. He's got like a 10-game swing where he's like, oh, shnikeities, he's the old Kawhi again. And then he's
back on the bench. But that story came out in the season where he felt bad about letting the teammates down. He felt like he wasn't doing his part, and then he got an opportunity to be out there every day, and he started to really he started to kick in. He started to really lock in. I don't know. I don't put it past anybody to come back and really do something. Like if he gets hurt again, okay, by all means, yeah, close the door. But I'm one of those, like I will give you an opportunity to really show what you can do with a full healthy offseason going into the regular season. And like I said, when he started to kind of find his grooves and get his minutes, some of the games he was putting up, it was longer than the 10-game stretch. That was like a 2-month stretch where he was just like destroying any and everything in front of him.
Yeah, but you need consistency, I will say.
I know, but like I said, I'm willing to give him a chance. I mean, I'm willing to give him a chance to see what he can do. I don't like writing people off. I think we do that too much.
I mean, when you have a reason, I mean, the thing is, when writing somebody off when you don't have a reason, that's one thing. But writing somebody off when it's every reason to write them off is quite another. I mean, he has not been healthy. Remember when he first came to Los Angeles, his goal was to dethrone the king. That's the whole gimmick behind the commercial. Him getting in the car with the king, little key ring on there to dethrone LeBron, to make sure that the Clippers were above, the Lakers, to make sure that the Clippers won the Battle of Los Angeles. And thus far, that hasn't came into fruition, even with the new stadium that they have. So the thing is, yes, you can not write someone off, but when is it time to move on at a certain point? When is it time to move on? You've been hurt a lot. We got to the Western Conference Finals a few years back. That's the closest that we got to a championship. When is it time to say, okay, Kawhi, look, I understand, but it's time for us to move on. You've been hurt. And it's been a pattern. It's been a pattern. It hasn't been a long season where everything is just, where he's just been healthy. He's played 67 games or 30 or 72 games like AD or something like that. It's been long stretches where he hasn't played but 32, 42 games in the season. So yeah, it's time to move on at a certain point. And hell, I wouldn't mind trading for John Morant. He brings that flair. You know, he is hip hop, Inglewood, California, Los Angeles. Oh yeah, bring him. I wouldn't mind bringing him in if I'm Steve.
Who you trading from LA to get Ja?
I would trade Kawhi in order to get Ja.
Boy,
Yeah.
no.
He hasn't been healthy the entire time.
Why would you gonna trade? You gonna trade Kawhi Leonard for John Morant? Are you? Come on, man, bro.
He hasn't been healthy.
I'm not trading Kawhi for John Morant. I'm not doing no. What?
Dude.
You have an aging superstar that hasn't been healthy the entire time he's been here. You
traded him for a point guard. So you're gonna trade him for a point guard who can't play make and attack the rim but can't shoot. You're gonna need somebody around him that can shoot.
Again, you can build that. But right now, you have to get someone in here who's gonna attract fans for that big old state. You got to take off your pure basketball hat for a second, BRL. You have to put on your businessman hat. What are you going to do as an owner? Kawhi's not getting any younger, and he's never healthy. It's kind of like
I gotta admit, I think Champ's right. I think you would. I think I'd make that trade in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Okay.
You put John Morant with Paul George for a couple of years.
Paul George is back there.
Sorry, not you're right.
But yeah,
it would have made sense then. Who else you got there?
The thing is this: you need an attraction. You need something that's going to draw fans. And having an injured superstar, an injured aging superstar sitting over there like Sam Bowie, it's not going to attract fans in that big old stadium that you just produced.
Eventually, you're still going to have to win.
Regardless of how I just made myself look like an ass by saying Paul George is still on the Clippers, I still think you make that trade. Champ's right. At the very least, you can trade Kawhi. It's almost a straight. Why wouldn't you trade a 33-year-old, every year injured superstar for a 25-year-old superstar that needs to repair his image?
Because with the Clippers' luck, you make that trade, and Kawhi Leonard has a big year, and you're stuck in mediocrity.
But you still have
You still have a young superstar that you can build around for years to come. Now I would put a hell of a lot of clauses in that contract and say you do so much as wipe your behind sideways out here in Los Angeles, you're out of here. But the thing is this: John Morant is younger, Kawhi is aging. He hasn't played a full season his entire time that he was there. He hasn't played a full season since he left Toronto. We got to the Western Conference Finals one time. And the thing is, look, let's just be clear. Him and Paul George were brought there. And fortunately for him, Paul George is gone. Them two were brought to win what? Championships. You wasn't brought there to be just an attraction. You were brought there to win championship. In fact, they were comparing those two, the best two defensive players. They're the best two defensive players since Jordan and Pippen. They was comparing them to that. And they had the potential in order to be that. But neither one of them has been healthy. That's how come they got rid of Paul George. And I understand, look, it's kind of like a relationship. Do you want to get rid of the person who you have history with? Or do you want somebody who you can make history with? That's the thing. It's always a dilemma. It's the same thing in the real world. Would you rather have the person that you have history with, or do you need a person who you can make some history with? You haven't made history with Kawhi. And granted, yeah, he could. Look, the worst that can happen is he goes somewhere and he stays healthy. That's the worst. But the best case scenario is you trade for a John Morant. That attracts more fans into that new stadium you have, and you can build more around them. There's free agents coming out. I'm not going to keep feeding money into a money pit like Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a money pit. He's a money pit. And we can talk about he might go somewhere. He hasn't proven that he can do it here yet.
What is John proven.
Again, you need a young superstar that you can build around to attract fans. You just built a new stadium. Kawhi is older. He's 33 years old and hasn't had a healthy season at all.
Okay.
He hasn't had a healthy season. I'm not making this up. It's a fact.
Look, facts are facts. Hey, look, facts are facts. I get it, but I'm okay. I'm still not doing it, but okay.
Hey,
okay.
In the great words of Bill Walsh and Bill Belichick, I'd rather trade you too early than too late. And from what it's looking like, especially with Paul George, they got it right with Paul George. They got him the heck up out of there before it was too late. If you ask me, it was long overdue. They got rid of him before it was too late. It's time to make a move. You've been playing this whole game since the late 2010s. You've been playing this game. Like I said, the whole method for bringing him and Paul George there, for getting Kawhi Leonard. This is Kawhi Leonard's hometown. LA is his hometown. And he hasn't been healthy. So where do you go from here? It's time to move on. Yes, Leaf, I am proposing Ja Morant to the Flippers. So, yeah, you got to make a move. I'd rather make a move too early than too late. Because you keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it, eventually you might not have any leverage to move on with. That's my thing. If I'm the Clippers, I'm looking to get younger. Hey, I'm picking up that phone tomorrow and calling Memphis. Hey, if I gave you Kawhi Leonard, what else would it take besides that to get Ja Morant?
I mean, here's the other thing too. Is like if you're the Clippers and you trade Kawhi to Memphis, is Memphis really going to win a title with Kawhi? Even if he has a great year, let's say that the Clippers curse and comes alive and Kawhi has a fully healthy season. Does Memphis win the title?
No.
I mean, they're the AC. I just look. I get it. A healthy Kawhi. If Kawhi's healthy, he's a top 5 player in the league still, top 6.
I'll say he's in the top 10 conversation if he's still healthy. You got to look at the talent that's grown with him not being healthy.
If he's fully healthy, fully Kawhi.
Yeah, he's in the top 6 conversation.
Top 6-ish conversation. I just think, but at the same time though, it's like that's we haven't had that since he left Toronto. We've had glimpses, windows, and if you're the Clippers, I think Champ's right. I think Leaf, I'm making a if the miracle happened, and if he was traded to Memphis and the Clippers curse was enacted and he had a fully healthy season, I'm just saying, what is he actually? And okay, he hasn't been that since he left Toronto. He hasn't been that, and that's how many years are we going on now?
Years.
He's 35.
Like
yeah, that's the argument, Leaf. That's the argument that me and Champ are making. That boat's gone. So that's the point. Is if you're the Clippers, what are you really, again? And that's my point though. Is like what are you losing as the Clippers? What are you really, if you trade Morant to Memphis and miraculously by the Jesus himself, Kawhi gets a perfect healthy year, is Memphis going to go leap from the 8th seed to beating the Rockets or OKC? No. So if you can press a reset button and get a 25-year-old possible star who, let's be honest here, before he started doing the pew-pew thing and all the stupid stuff, if there was going to be anybody that would have been like a possible face of the league before all that stuff. And after Curry and LeBron leaves, he was kind of on his way.
Not to mention, look, Kawhi Leonard, since he's been in LA, has only played over 57 games one time. And that was 2023 to 2024. That was the 2023-2024 season. Since he's been in Los Angeles, he played 57, 52, 50, and then last year he played 37 games. He has to give you that one spectacular season that just knocks your socks off. He's been sitting there kind of like how Derrick Rose was at the end of his career in Chicago, kind of like collecting dust. People wondering, like I said, in 2019, remember, we gotten LeBron, and he had that whole little commercial with him and the keys with the crown on it. He was going to take over Los Angeles, him and Paul George. It hasn't happened yet. And he's 33 years old. And you're often injured. Time to get younger. Time to get more explosive. Time to at least bring an attraction to the building where you can attract fans and people can say, hey, even if they don't win but 50 games this year or 42 games this year, I could at least go see Ja Morant. So,
bro, you're not bringing a John Morant to LA to win 42 games.
Again, even if they only win 42 games, and even with the Lakers at one point, people will always say, okay, Lakers might not win that much this year. They might go to the first round of the playoff and lose. But I could at least go see Kobe. That's what was going on after Shaq left. People were saying, hey, I might not. Their Lakers not going to win a title this year. They're not going to make a deep playoff run. But I can at least go see Kobe and see him score. That has happened.
I know, but that train of thinking almost cost you Kobe until you got Pau Gasol.
Again, we know this. And we was able to get him for a song. Mitch Kupchak. Thank God for him. But, yeah. And the thing is, the reason why he called the trade off, people don't understand this. We was going to trade him to Detroit and get Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, and Tayshaun Prince. So he would have went right back to mediocrity once again. So it made sense for him to stay. Can you imagine if we would have got Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, and Tayshaun Prince? That's at least a 6 seed. So, yeah, that's the reason why he called off the trade. He was going to end right back up in mediocrity once again. I mean, if you look at I think it's the Muse documentary. I think he says that. He says, so you mean to tell me you're going to trade me so I could be even worse than I am now? They was like, yeah, basically. He was like, no, I'll call that trade off. Let's see what y'all can do. Then he squashed it. But right now, the Clippers need something for the future. Kawhi's on his way out. And it's not like he's LeBron, where, you know, he's going to put up where you can see he's going to remain healthy. Even with LeBron and the quote-unquote injuries that he had during the playoffs, you know he's going to at least give you 60 to 67 games. You know he's going to be durable. So, yeah, that's what I would say. On to the next one. Let's stick to basketball. Let's go to the W. And let's stay out down here in that ATL. BRF, you warned me about the Atlanta Dream.
I surely did.
You did. Because I've been giving you your flowers on TikTok. You said that front court was on demon time. Breonna Jones and Brittany Griner. And now, Alicia Gray has taken bounds and leaps with this team. And her and Ryan Howard is one of the best backcourts in the league. Why is she not being considered for the MVP?
Because you got to look at the names that are being considered for the MVP. It's no slight to her. I mean, Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark, Breonna Stewart, Nafisa Collier. It's not her fault. The names that are being thrown out there for MVP are just bigger names. It's not her fault at all because she's got that dream team at 10-4 and like clicking. And like just she has just been like leaps and bounds, just improving her game day in and day out. But I just gave you 5 players that are better than her. So it's not her fault. It's not her fault. It's just that the MVP award right now is just extremely top heavy with big name talent that has a shot to win that award. That and the fact that Nafisa Collier is just like, boy, just destroying everything in front of her right now. But yeah, I mean, what Alicia Gray's doing with or Atlanta is just like, it's like I talked about. Like I've mentioned this. It feels like countless times already. But getting Breonna Jones, getting Brittany Griner, just instant. When I heard that they got both of them, I instantly said, "Okay, yep, they got a shot to do it." Because that's just the WNBA. It feels like, I mean, you can see like inside outside game and how everything is now like coming together. It's like you can't just focus on Ryan Howard anymore. And even with Alicia Gray, like having that backcourt tandem there, it's like who in the front court scares you to have to not worry about those two. Brittany Griner isn't the greatest scorer, but her presence inside, you know it. Her rim protecting, her offensive and defensive rebounding, she's there. You know, if you're going to win, you're going to have to win and you're going to score, and particularly driving and attacking the basket, you're going to have to earn it every single time when Brittany Griner's in the post. But then Breonna Jones gives you a scoring force in the interior that you've lacked. And now everything just kind of like is coming together. And that's why this team is as good as it is right now. Like I said, they're like in a group of squads who I think can win the WNBA title this year. They are in that list of teams. And they just do everything well, and they're just starting to click. And I don't know, I just kind of had this feeling about them, like there's something like, I'm sorry, you telling me you're gonna get Breonna Jones and Brittany Griner and you're not instantly a title contender? Like, I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's just like, for me, that was just like common sense. And now you're just seeing the fruits of the labor of the front office bringing those women in, and now they just doing it. But yeah, the only reason why Alicia Gray isn't in the MVP talks is because there are already 5 better players that are in talks. So it's not a slight to her, because honestly, she could continue to improve and continue better. If she's getting better and she's putting up these ridiculous numbers, and the Dream just reel off this ridiculous record, she's going to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think it's just right now, like I said, with Nafisa Collier, with Asia Wilson, with Caitlin Clark, Breonna Stewart, like you just have names that are better. You just have names right now that are better, and it's not her fault at all. You just got names that are better. I think that's just really all it is.
I think that she should be considered for it, especially considering what Atlanta was last year. Remember, they barely made the playoffs last year.
They barely snuck in.
I mean, and one can argue
technicality.
Yeah, and the thing is, because right before Angel got hurt, the Chicago Sky was like 2 games ahead of them. So that was the thing. And I'm not making that up. That's a fact. So one could argue, had Angel not, because after her, the only thing you could depend on is Kennedy Carter. And you know she could be quite volatile at times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so the only thing you had to do is depend on her. So yeah, they was 2 games outside of that. And yeah, but I think, but consider where Atlanta was last year and how she's the catalyst and how her and Ryan Howard, not to mention, man, look, you remember the Bad Boy Pistons when they had, Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, right? Remember, coming off the bench, they had the microwave, right? Pow Pow is the microwave of that team.
Yeah.
She's the microwave of that team.
Tahina Pow Pow.
Pow, pow.
She's good. She's good. She's good. She is good.
It's like a cheer if you want me to be a Tahina.
You so stupid. Oh my Lord.
Tell me I'm lying. Tahina.
Boy, I ain't messing. Man, I ain't messing with you, nature.
You got anything to add to this, Flash?
I ain't mess with you.
No, I think I agree. I mean, and we're gonna get to the Fever in a second here. If we're gonna throw Caitlin Clark into that mix at some point here, like if she keeps playing the way she's playing, and then it just and if Indiana gets better, it's a very crowded field right now. So I think that's why.
Yeah. Gotta ask this question. What is wrong with the Las Vegas Aces and the Indiana Fever? Because coming into this season, the Aces had the greatest player in the league right now, in Asia Wilson. She's been out a few games with a concussion. She had a lot of trouble getting off the ground last night, but she did do 20-7. 27-7 last night, but she openly admitted she had trouble hitting that mid-range. And they haven't looked the same with this new core of players. Now, with the Aces, it's been a constant restructure. They went from having Darica Hamby. They lost her. Remember, they lost her. Remember, they lost Kelsey Plum. Remember, they lost Candace Parker because she retired. They didn't have Kelsey Gray for a couple of games earlier last season. Then they replaced a lot of their key players with Jewel Lloyd, which she's been doing a great job, but it hasn't been that catalyst. So it's been a lot of chemistry issues with them. Same thing with the Indiana Fever, in my humble opinion. Plus, Dewana Bonner has not been what we thought she was going to be with this team.
Well, I think we're kind of a little early on the Indiana Fever thing. I think part of it is because you had Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark both missed 5 games each at least.
Yes, I was getting to that.
So I mean, I think the Bonner thing hasn't played out as much as we thought it would, just because they've missed games. We haven't seen. I mean, they're 6-7 right now. So I mean, and they can play as good as Smoking the Liberty to losing to
losing to Vegas and Asia Wilson not having a good game.
Yeah. So
they played out for the competition too much. If you really want me to be honest about the Fever.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that that's where they need to kind of get the. Yeah, you're right. I think you're exactly right, champ. They play to the size of the game. But I still think that Indiana right now, with the team they have, if they stay healthy and going forward, I think Caitlin Clark by the end of the year will be by August will be an MVP candidate, and I think
she's got the second best odds now. She's an MVP candidate now.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you got to be healthy, obviously. So I think, and I also think they're going to be, a top 3 seed in the whole league, top 3-4 possibly. So when it comes to the Aces, I think the big thing is that just the talent that they lost. And I think that's the big problem. And everybody's gotten better. That's the other thing. Like, all these teams have gotten a lot better. And, that just evens the playing field more. And, this is kind of the thing where, like, I look at Asia Wilson, I kind of look at her like a Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey kind of like dominated the women's division. And then all of a sudden the talent came, because she made the division what it was. And now you're seeing all this influx of talent right now, and I think it's starting to even out the playing field. Like, that's part of it. And on top of it, the Aces, just like I said, they lost talent. So, you do that on top of, and I also think I think now with the attraction of Caitlin Clark, and I think all the more money and the eyeballs on the league, you're going to have better coaching. I think you're just going to have better overall, coaching and everything else, and just putting players in better positions to win. So I think it's just going to be, I don't think it's anything knock on Asia. I just think it's the evolution of the league.
Yeah, the natural order. I mean, and I got to ask you this question, both of you. The collective bargaining agreement is going to end this year. Plus, Asia Wilson is going to be a free agent next year. You see any possible way that she might leave Vegas?
Oh, the right offer, absolutely.
What?
The right offer, she can absolutely leave.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean with the CBA up, do you think? I mean, I guess the big thing is, do you think the WNBA turns a profit for the first time ever?
To be honest with you, look, I think that they will. I really do.
I still think they're a couple years away.
I think they will this year.
I think they're a couple years.
Because I'm looking at what the Valkyrie are doing. The Valkyries they've already grossed over $100 million. And that's without $55 million. They're selling out. They sold out every single home game. They've outsold the Indiana Fever.
And they're a good team.
So when you think about that, they can turn a profit. The problem that I have with the W is this. You're not advertising. When Asia Wilson plays Caitlin Clark, that's supposed to be advertised on every freaking commercial that you can possibly get your hands on. That's supposed to have build up to it. This coming Saturday, you have Paige Beckers, which is one of the most phenomenal players in the league right now.
That shit's already box office, bro. My God.
It's going to be Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers. In fact, and listen to this. And nobody in the league, not Asia Wilson, not Nafisa Collier, not Brittany Sykes, not Alicia Gray. Nobody has outscored Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, or Sabrina Ionescu in the month of June thus far. Nobody. Those are the three top scorers for the month of June. So you have Paige Becker, who has her own Gatorade. You have Caitlin Clark, who has her own basketball. The only other basketball player to ever have an endorsement deal with Wilson or Spalding was Michael Jordan. Advertise that game and now that you have the schedule all to yourself, schedule a game at a time where everyone is gonna want to see it.
Well, that's the thing. They're on their own now.
Yeah.
We talked about this last year, dude. You're talking about Friday and it's Caitlin versus Paige. It's on Ion. Why aren't you like prime time on ABC right now?
I understand Ion because that's the women's network.
I know, but then why don't you simulcast?
That's a good point as well.
Like, you need to be like, you have Friday night all to yourself.
Mm-hmm. I'll be taking full advantage of that.
Why aren't you advertising Caitlin Clark? Again, even without Paige Beckers, like, why aren't you advertising Caitlin Clark on a Friday night? Like, I don't know. This is the thing that I complained about last year almost every week on the show, was like, why are you not doing that? Now maybe I'm naive and ignorant, and I don't know enough about contracts and who does what and licensing and all that kind of jazz. And maybe that's the case, but that just baffles me that like the first week or Friday night that you have no other league competition except for Major League Baseball, that you don't put. Hell, I don't even know why you don't put Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark that night or something. Like, and you're not advertising on ABC. That should be prime time.
Box office.
Yeah, that should be like, yeah. That baffles me. So, I mean, Caitlin Clark doesn't play. Well, they do have them playing Sunday, July 13th, ABC and ESPN Plus. Caitlin Clark versus, the Indiana versus Dallas. They do have a primetime game on. It's just a Friday night. That just baffles me. I'm just.
Sure. I don't know either. I mean, I think that darn commissioner. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what she's doing. I mean, there's been a lot of criticism from the players about her. You know, they don't even call her the commissioner. You know, they don't even call her by her full name. They call her Kathy.
Well,
that just goes to show you the level of respect. At least when people address David Stern, they call him Commissioner Stern or David Stern. They call him by his full name.
Yeah.
They don't even call her by her full name. They say Kathy Schedule. I mean, wow.
I think the WNBA as a whole, I think has a lot of issues with not only just like the commissioner and how they market themselves. I think a lot of the players, there's that one video of the guy that was seeking the autograph, and did you guys see that video?
Yeah, I understand why she did that. That was a card hoarder. That was one of those guys. That was one of those guys trying to sell cards. So I understand that you're not going to profit off me.
That's true, and maybe that's true. Okay, but you are. What's the old saying? Perception is reality. You are a growing league right now, and what would it have cost you? Would it cost the WNBA more than it would have if she just would have signed it for the dude? Yeah. You have to be like savvy in the moment right now, marketing wise. Like when Brittany Griner was complaining about how noisy it is. Like, y'all have been bitching for fans for years now, and now you're complaining about it. Like, so you have to be, in the moment, because that viral video hurt the league more than it did again if she just would have just signed it and just moved on her way. And so I think the league as a whole now, you're going to see a lot of the new talent and younger talent be able to market themselves. They grew up with social media. They're in the middle of this, this boom with the WNBA. So like, I what's funny is I like all this Sophie Cunningham attention. I thought we were going to need, dude, that brought a ton of eyeballs to the league. A ton.
Yeah, half their team in All-Star race right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you right now, and I always thought it'd be like a great game that would like really bring more eyeballs, dude. But I want to say this when it comes to WNBA, as an old head, as one of the old heads that misses 80s and 90s basketball and how chippy it was, people throwing punches and shit like that. Like, fuck yeah, let these girls go. Let them go. This is great. It's more entertaining than the NBA. And everybody's like, oh my God, the fouls and this and that. Like, and the flopping. And I'm not saying there's not flop in the WNBA, but dude, I haven't seen shit like what Sophie Cunningham did. Dude, she Muay Thai grabbed that girl and was like, do something or I'm going to knee you in the face. Like, bravo. Charles Oakley would be proud. Like,
Rick Mahorn, rather.
Yeah, Bill Lambier would be buying you a beer, Miss Sophie. So, shit, this is great. I loved it, dude. I never thought I watched the Fever game over the NBA Finals.
Really?
Just to tune into Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. I will say this, And I got to say this real quick. Anybody notice this right now? Anybody notice this right now? I just want to be transparent. Y'all notice that now the Fever are getting more of the bad boy Piston treatment at this point in time.
Meaning they are the bad boys, or like
no, they're getting the bad boy Piston treatment. It's just like they're becoming the bad boys.
Oh yeah.
Because the thing is, if you really look at how people are treating Paige versus how they treated Caitlyn, it's a 360. It's just like Paige came in and she's beloved. I mean, everybody loves her. It's this love fest before every game. Everybody's hugging. Everybody's, blah, blah, blah. But y'all noticed that? I know I'm not the only one that noticed it.
Because Paige doesn't, I'm sorry, like as good as Paige Beckert is, she doesn't have the, I hate this word, it's so overused now, but she doesn't have the aura that Caitlin Clark does.
I'm talking about the treatment, though. I'm talking about she's just as good in my humble opinion.
The whole reason
why everybody, it's a love fest every time she goes to a game. It's like everybody knows.
Because Caitlin, the reason, the hate for Caitlin Clark and the reason why she gets like, back alley beaten almost every game is because of the attention that she gets. And it's not the attention that she gets like from her peers. It's the attention that she gets. Look, I'm just being honest. Bitches be jealous. And that's what it is. It's just pure, and it's just pure jealousy. And look, this game has been. I was listening to Colin Cowherd today, and he made a really good point. I thought that this game, like the WNBA game, is more horizontal than it is vertical, and so the game's going to be chippier. And I think you throw that on the top of the fact that like there's legit jealousy. I don't think there's hatred. I think hatred's a strong word. I think people throw that around. Like I just think there's pure jealousy. I don't think people like the fact that there's nothing to be jealous about with Paige Beckers. Like where's the jealousy? So I think it was Paige like, oh, it's cute little Paige Beckers. Oh, let's give her a hug. Like with Caitlin, because look, Caitlin Clark talks mad shit too, on top of it. Paige Beckers, from what I've seen with interviews, I think there was an interview with Lisa Leslie and somebody else when they were talking about Paige. And the one thing that Paige lacks is the like kind of FU attitude. Like she doesn't have that.
She's likable. She's
almost too likable.
Yeah. She's very likable.
That's the problem. That's why everybody's all like, oh my God, it's cute. It's little Paige Beckers. Oh my God, look at her shoot the ball. And Caitlin Clark is like, man, this bitch is pissing me off. Like, and she's talking shit in my face. I mean, she does. Look, I'm not.
Like I said, that's why I brought this up because every time I look at Paige, it's a love fest. People are just hugging. Yes. Angel Wilson. I mean, even Angel Reese right before the game, they doing a little magic, little stuff like that. I'm like, wait a minute, this is like a 360 from what we saw last year.
Dude,
Paige is not getting mugged.
No, there is no shock in me that Caitlin Clark, that Cece got the Ric Flair thumb to the eye. Like that was not shocking to me at all. That somebody's like, I'm just going to give you the Ric Flair like this and the thumb to the eye. Like that did not shock me at all. Like,
that was crazy. It was like, wow. I mean, like I said, Angel Reese too. When you think about who got mugged last year, guys were just getting mugged. And then Paige comes in, it's just like, wait a minute. Let's be gentle.
Yeah, because she's cute and adorable. Like,
I'm like, where's her hard files at, man? I haven't seen one. Maybe somebody in the comments or who's watching can give me one, but I haven't seen one of these real hard, little nasty files. I mean, even when she got that concussion, people was go over there crowding around, helping her all. BRF, you got something to add to this, man? Maybe I'm missing something.
Y'all might not like what I'm about to say, but That SB speech that Paige Beckers gave a couple years ago, I think, got something to do with why they're more attentive to her.
What did she
So-
say?
About the whole, I hate to bring it up.
Bringing in the R word, racism, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate
We're all
to.
adults here. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to do it, but I mean, let's keep it a buck. Paige Beckers went on the ESPYs a couple years ago when she was still on UConn and basically said, hey, I'm fortunate to play in a sport where black women paid the way for me. And
Didn't Cece say the same thing?
Yeah, she said the same thing.
I get it. I know, but I'm just saying.
The platform like the ESPYs, yeah. The platform like the ESPYs.
Yeah. I don't excuse them for basically going at Caitlin Clark like the way they do, but I'm just saying.
Oh, it's just pure hate, dude. And I don't mean hate as in like they hate her. It's just pure jealousy with you. Again, Paige, I like your point, and maybe that is part of the reason. But Paige is like that cute little cuddly, like she's like she's like a little Disney princess. You're like, oh, she's so cute. Look at that. Oh, look at and she says all the right things too. And she's, and look, Caitlin Clark's to see you next Tuesday. Let's just be honest on the court. That girl talks more shit than, but she's constantly running her mouth. So again, I'm not surprised that. I think Caitlin Clark is that old school athlete that, like, off the court, she's probably a sweetheart to everybody, but on the court, she's like an evil bastard.
You're trying to take your heart.
Yeah, she don't care. She can hand you.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought I was the only one that noticed that. I'm like, wait a minute, where's Paige's heart? And the thing is, what scared me about Paige is she's a little bit small. She's way smaller than Caitlin too. She's smaller.
That's what I'm saying.
Had to put a lot of weight on her.
Princess.
So it's just like, I don't know how it's going to happen. I mean, everybody was getting hard. I mean, remember that screen that Brittany Griner set on Sonya Citron, knocked her out of the arena? In fact, no, I'm not lying. They had a meeting.
No, I'm saying
They had a meeting.
it was just how you said it.
and knocked her out of the arena. She ran into Brittany Griner, and the only thing you heard was them Sonic coins. So all over the place. Yeah, but Paige has not gotten that hard foul yet that we're all bracing ourselves. Like, I've been bracing myself for this like the entire season. I'm like, no, not yet. Like I said, even when she hit her head on the back of the backboard, everybody was over there, grab her, get her up. But we haven't seen that hard foul. And like I said, it was kind of crazy. But like I said, I thought I was the only one that noticed that. It was kind of crazy, if you want me to be honest with you. It was kind of like, wow, where's her hard foul? Where's this at? But, like I said, some people are a little bit more lovable than others. Remember when Michael Jordan first came in the league? Remember what happened with him in his first All-Star game? Remember Isaiah Thomas froze him out. The whole league, the Eastern Conference, let a freeze out on him. They froze him out.
Yeah.
So I thought I was the only one that noticed that. Last one in basketball, then we'll move on to Rashley. Angel Reese had a triple-double last week, and just the other day she put up 10, 19, and 6. What is her ceiling at this point?
Perennial All-Star. I think she can make a couple of All-NBA teams. I think she can. Her ceiling is probably just the quintessential, just perennial, can make an All-Star team every year. I don't think. This is what I'll say about Angel Reese. If her offense can catch up to her rebounding and like her rim protection and her defense, maybe one of those, she could have one of those just put it all together MVP candidate type years if she just puts it all together. But I just think she's one of those, like, she can just, be around, she's like the perennial all-star type. I don't think, like, nothing more, nothing less. Not like not top 5 player in the league, maybe top 10, top 15, top 20 conversations. Like nothing like extreme as far as like a ceiling. I'll say like perennial all-star. Maybe a couple of all NBA, WNBA teams, but perennial all-star is probably her ceiling.
Flashman.
I mean, if we're talking just like what I think what she will be or what her ceiling is, if we're just talking pure ceiling, then I think because I think she's going to be an all-star for the next couple of years but if she stays pretty much who she is or what she is, then I think she kind of just fades off and she's not really much. But if she improves her game, and like what BRF said, if her offense at least, I wouldn't even say needs to catch up to her ability to rim protect and everything else,
but be more consistent.
Like you need to be like, look, I know I've been kind of shitting on her lately, but she's kind of well deserved on the offensive side of the ball. Like she's got to learn how to look at the court like better. She's gotten a little bit better in the last couple of weeks at passing the ball out. Like she's not, throwing up like shots like a 3-year-old at a plastic basketball hoop. Like, she needs to be a better basketball player. And I think if she can just be a better basketball, and this sounds silly considering she's a professional basketball player, I think BRF's right. I think it's there. I think you're right, though. I don't think she's a top 5. I still think she's going to be an all-star for a couple of years. And then I think as the talent grows in the WNBA, she won't be as relevant. I think there'll be better players and better talent. And, like I'm trying to compare her to somebody that like.
I think that her ceiling right now, on her skill level that she is right now, she's Jonquel Jones. She's Jonquel Jones.
I like that comparison. That comparison.
Jones right now, she's on that par because Jonquel Jones sometimes he has trouble. He has trouble at the mid range, but Jonquel Jones at the same time, she was a MVP at one point, 2021. So she was an MVP. So I think that she could be a Jonquel Jones with her skill set at this point in time. Hey, get well soon, Jonquel Jones. She's out for the next 3 to 6 weeks. But I think what people really want to see her as, everybody wants to see her as the next Asia, because we see that she's beating Asia in the rebounding. And we see that she can show these flashes of her on the offensive side of the ball. But we don't ever get the complete package. And now that she's being shifted over to a point forward at this point, and she's facilitating.
She shouldn't be doing it.
She's facilitating. I mean, whether she should be or not, she's doing a hell of a job at it. It was the thing about the triple-double she had. She only had 2 turnovers during the entire time. And people could call it an ugly triple-double, but triple-double nevertheless. People could call
triple-double. A triple-double is a triple-double. I don't care if it's 10, 10, and 10. A triple-double is a triple-double.
I think I mean, I don't know.
But yeah, that was
we're just talking ceiling. I don't think she'll ever sniff an MVP. There's way too much talent, even now.
I feel it just all depends on where the offense goes from here. It's where the offense goes from here. If the offense gets better, that's the only thing that's going to keep her from becoming like a bigger star in the league. It's her offensive skill set. But if the offensive skill set improves, it's not going to matter what talent comes in the league, because if the offensive game steps up, she's going to keep herself relevant. But if the offense doesn't improve, then she's going to stay where she's at.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that's fair. That's essentially what I'm saying. I'm like, if she doesn't, I just don't see her improving on that side of the ball, because I just don't think she has the athleticism or the talent to. Like, that's the problem. Like, that's where I look at it.
Yeah. Like I said, she's transitioning. She's not going through the transition perfectly, but every week, every day, it's progressively better. It's not going up and throwing up balls that you know that's not going to make it. As much as people gave her grief about the me-bounds, they're slowly but surely disappearing.
Well, let's
the thing is, listen, she had a 19 rebound game last night. 17 of those were defensive.
I know. I mean,
so slowly but surely, those me-bounds are disappearing. I mean, so they're not going to have that to hold against her anymore.
I mean, let's not put the cart before the horse here. Just 2 weeks ago, we were all talking about whether or not Chicago should trade her.
Yeah, her Cardozo, yeah.
Well, that's also called some improvement there. So let's give her some props.
I'm just saying, let's let the season play out.
I know, but every player is allowed room to improve.
I agree. I'm just saying.
And you got to think about this. Both of them are bigs. So another reason why we said that is is that front court
They're the same player.
Is that front court a little bit too crowded at this point? Because it's kind of like having Shaq and Chris Webber in the same basketball game. It's only one ball.
I know. So then my question would be, if you're a WNBA franchise or a coach, let's say, what would you have her do what position would you put her in? And I'm not talking about like point guard, small forward. Like, what would you have her do right now to put her in the best position to succeed?
She's a power forward. She's a power forward. She's a power forward that needs to play on the interior. You don't run the offense through her, but you do put the ball in her hands and allow her to kind of like be able to kick out and set up her teammates as far as open shots go.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think she's a good enough passer just to do that?
Yes, indeed. She's averaging.
She's a good enough passer for that. She's not like a point forward or anything. But as far as like her vision when she's like in the post, be able to see teammates to kick out. Oh yeah, she's already good enough at that.
If you really look at it, I'm just looking at the stats right about now. And I know stats don't always tell the entire story, but right now she's averaging 3.5 assists a game,
which is good for her position.
For her position, she's a big.
It's really good.
But she's not a big. She's a point forward. We just said that.
Yeah.
So she should be
point forward is still a big. It's still a big.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying, but she's still a big. And I mean, you're not expecting. She's still a big, and I know what you're saying, but I mean, we're not expecting her to go off like. We're not expecting her to have like Caitlin Clark or even Sabrina Ionescu assist numbers for that matter.
Well, no, I'm not expecting her to have like 10 to 12 assists a game, but like you got, if you're the point forward, you got to be 5'6".
Yeah.
We're just talking about ceiling. And we all agree that if her offense improves, she can reach that ceiling. I agree, even though I'm kind of hating on her right now. She has.
Not to mention she can guard all 5 positions. People ain't even talking about that. I mean, I remember, people talking about Breanna Stewart when Angel was checking her, she was limited to 5 points until they switched off on her.
Yeah, again, I've maintained. I thought her ceiling was essentially Ben Wallace.
Yeah, like I said, Jonquel Jones.
I don't think she sniffs an MVP, but a couple maybe defensive player of the years. In that aspect.
I don't think she'll be. I don't think she's Ben Wallace to where it's like with Ben Wallace, you never worried about his offense. I think and from an interior perspective, you have to eye her offensively a little bit. You never have to worry. You never had to worry about Ben Wallace offensively because he didn't care.
The only thing he wanted to do was play defense, get rebounds.
Exactly. He wanted to shut down your best interior player, get his rebounds, block his shots, and affect the game like that. How many guys make the Hall of Fame as being one of the greatest defensive players like of all time, and that's all he's known for.
Outside of him and Dennis Rodman, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that she can beat Jonquel Jones. That's her mid ceiling. Her maximum ceiling is Asia. But like I said, for every one Asia Wilson, there's a bunch of guys that you never even heard of. So
right.
I can't. So it's hard to be an Asia Wilson. It's hard to be an Asia Wilson.
Yeah, I don't think I think that's we're getting a little ahead. I mean, I don't think
that's her max ceiling. But her mid ceiling, I can see her being a Jonquel Jones. Jonquel Jones at her peak was no joke. So I can see her being a Jonquel Jones. Jonquel Jones, like I said, she was Finals MVP and the MVP. So I can see her being a Jonquel Jones type player. And people got to understand this: a lot of the analytics in the WNBA is not going to apply. It's not going to apply the way. Though a lot of analytics in the NBA is not going to necessarily translate to the W. It's not going to necessarily translate. Completely different ball game. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that go along with that. But I can definitely see her being a Jonquel Jones type of player. She's steadily improving, which everybody was giving her hell for because, and rightfully so, when you're a little bit of everywhere, when you're a little bit of everywhere, when you at Met Gala, I mean, I'll just use myself for an example. If you see me in the club, you see me, hanging out at the gentleman's club, you out here, we out here frying fish here the other day. And, I'm out here, at these video game conventions at Comic-Con and all this other stuff. And then you don't see me playing and you don't see me boxing. I use boxing because that's what I used to do. You don't see me boxing. Then, yeah, of course you're going to say, oh, well, damn, champ, what's going on with you in your boxing? Your right hook ain't what it was last year. So, of course, people are going to blame that. But, hey. But like I said, the me bounds is slowly becoming an afterthought. Because like I said, 17 of those have been defense. 17 of those 19 she got last night, defense.
She's got a lot. I think she's got a lot. She's got a ways to go to turn around the narrative on how people feel about her in general. But I do think if the current trend with her right now continues, I think she'll be able to do that.
Yes, indeed.
That's it. That's it. I just think she's got a lot of. I mean, she had to get because I guess she sent did you guys see the guys on TikTok that were betting on her missing her first shot?
Yeah, I saw that.
And then I guess she sent a cease and desist order to them or something like that or whatever. And so
her team did. That was
look, just embrace it. If you want to be the villain, and then it was so funny. So what they did in response is they just blacked her out with a black cube essentially. Oh my God, it was so funny. And that's the stuff that she's got to get past. And then if she keeps going the route she is, and the me bounce thing kind of goes away, then I think she'll get there. And I think also if she stops coming out and saying stupid shit too, that's the other part of it. You can't just come out and keep saying stuff like, I'm just not going to play next year if we don't get a ton of money. And it's well, you guys don't even make money, or whatever she says in general.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything you want to add, BRF?
Nah. I think I'm pretty good on this now.
All right, real quick. This got to be a quick segment because I got to let y'all cook on this Cena promo. All right, how much pressure is on Lamar after this Zaire Alexander edition? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to add to that. You had a hell of an offseason. You had a hell of a draft. You did not lose any key additions. And that secondary just got a little bit deeper with Zaire Alexander. Even if he only plays slot, how much pressure is on that Baltimore Ravens team?
Man, coming into the season, I don't think it really changes that much from the standpoint of they're already at the point where it's like, if you don't win a championship this year, are you going to?
Yeah.
I think they're already at that. I think they're already at that level, and Jair Alexander doesn't really move the needle. That needle's already at like the damn near breaking point. Yeah, it's already at the max. It's already at the max. Jair Alexander does not change a thing because the needle's already at the max. We're at the point with them now is if you don't win it this year, when are you going to? Like, you can't get no more maxed out than that. They were at that level before the Jair Alexander move, and it didn't change a thing. They're already at the max.
No, when I saw, as a Packer fan, when I saw that the Packers just released him, I was like, why wouldn't you just trade him? And then two, after I saw he got signed by Baltimore, I was kind of like, all right, dude, like, how much more do you need now to win a title? Like, you now you just got the dude that can, one of the few corners that can shut down Justin Jefferson.
Exactly.
What more do you need now?
And you have to think about this, and I've said this. The AFC North is in turmoil outside of the Baltimore Ravens. They are in turmoil. The Steelers, turmoil. The Browns, they don't even know who's going to be their quarterback. And let's not even get
the Bengals still don't even know how to play defense.
Let's not even get in the Air Coryell Part 2, because you might be able to go in there and put up 30 before they get their shoes tied.
Shoot, they might trade Shamar Stewart before he even take a goddamn play.
Yeah. So it's like it's a lot of things that's going on in that division that is very conducive to you winning.
Yeah, but is there any question about them winning the division? We're not talking about them winning the division. We're talking about winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. But to quote Dave Wanstead and Jimmy Johnson, the start to you winning a Super Bowl is winning your division and running the table in your division. So you can get that first round bye. So you can get a number one seed. So you can get home field advantage. So it starts with winning that division. And look, when you got 6 free games a year, that pretty much helps your case. That way you don't have to go on the road. That way you don't have any road games. That way you got to go to Buffalo. You don't have to go to Kansas City. So with that division in turmoil right now, you may very well have a team in the form of the Cincinnati Bengals with 3 All-Pros on the offense, with 4 All-Pros on the offensive side of the ball, and they still might go 10, and they still might go 10, and they still might go 6-11.
Well, I'll say this though. I'll say this though, as far as the AFC North, the only free games Baltimore are going to have in that division is Cleveland. With the reputation Baltimore has against Pittsburgh and the way Cincinnati plays them tough every time they play, I will never call those 4 games free. Cleveland I'll call free, but I won't call those free.
Not with Joey B at quarterback, dude. Like I
know. The thing is, who are you going to stop at this point? You can't win games. You cannot win games if you're scoring 40 and giving up 50.
I don't disagree with you. But at the same time, it's still like you still got to go beat Joey B, like you do. Now, whether that their defense is
suspect at best.
Whether it shows up enough,
suspect missing.
I'm being nice when I say that. I say
they're missing.
I know. I'm just saying I'm kind of on the same level of BRF. Is it's not a gimme game, that's
especially when Jamar Chase made you, especially when Jamar Chase was your daddy twice, and you only won because you just scored more points.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest, Cincinnati's defense just has to improve a tiny bit.
They just need to rush the passer better.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I don't even need them to be like, I don't need them to be the 2000 Ravens. I just need them to be like below average.
Give me the Cincinnati Bengals that went to the Super Bowl. We'll be all right.
Hell, they don't even need to be that. Just
that's average. That was average.
That was average.
That's all I need. Average. That's all I need. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals that went into Kansas City and beat Patrick Mahomes for the AFC Championship. Give me that defense with this offense. We'll be all right.
Yeah. So, but I think to the overall point, I think the needle is as high as it's going to go. Like if he doesn't win one this year, I think we're at the point where like now we can start making memes out of you. Like we're almost there now, where you're almost becoming kind of like
you're the Warren Moon. You're the Warren Moon of this generation.
I wouldn't even say Warren Moon because like Warren Moon never had this kind of talent around him.
Really?
Not this level.
Yes, he did.
He never had a top 10 running back of all time.
Well, that's fair. But that is fair. But when you think about his receiving core,
you're right. Okay. Look, I love the run and shoot talent that he had with Lorenzo White and Haywood Jeffries and
Drew Hill,
and
Christopher Duncan.
Yeah, but none of those guys were like the best player out of that was Haywood Jeffries. And was he ever like a top 5 wide receiver in the league?
No, he wasn't. It was too many for him to compete with at that point.
Yeah,
and I don't think either one of them. I'll say this though, they were good, but Zay Flowers' ceiling,
yeah,
like his yards after the catch with the ball in his hand, boy, Zay Flowers with the ball in his hand, it's scary. It's scary.
I love that old school run and shoot offense. I do, and I think all those wide receivers are severely underrated. But I think Zay Flowers' ceiling and talent level is way beyond anything Warren Moon ever had.
Yeah,
and Rashad Bateman started to wake up the second half of last season too. So, that's why I think we're at the point of we were at the max before they got Jair Alexander.
Yeah, I just think I'm trying to think of a comparison of where like he's going to be the Marty Schottenheimer of NFL quarterbacks. That's the best comparison that I can think of. Like I can't think of a player that's had that much talent around him consistently every year and is an MVP candidate. Like I guess he's early Peyton Manning right now until he finally found one until he ran into Rex until he was lucky enough to play Rex Grossman in the Super Bowl.
Like that. This level of success this early without a championship. That's the only other player I can think of.
Is early Peyton Manning before he won one, and I still maintain like as much as I think Peyton Manning's obviously as good as he is and deserves to be in the the top 10 all time obviously conversation, top 5 conversation, but like his 2 Super Bowl wins like are extremely underwhelming. Like extremely underwhelming. Even in the Super Bowl against Chicago, it's not like Bro didn't deserve MVP. That was all Joseph Adai and the running backs. Like he was garbage. So I
he was garbage.
He was getting and by the end of the time he won. Well, yeah, and then he won on the one.
I mean, to be fair, it was the 06 Bears defense.
You're Peyton Manning.
I get that. We give excuses to quarterback. We give stuff to quarterbacks all the time. So I'm just saying.
It's if you're to be considered the top 5 all time, the 06 Bears defense shouldn't be like, ooh, scary. Like don't get me wrong. That was a good defense. It was.
Yeah, that defense was so good they led Rex Grossman to a Super Bowl appearance.
I'm about to say Rex freaking Grossman.
And the only offense, they had 2 offensive weapons. They had the running backs and they had Devin Hester. That was it.
Exactly. The running backs and Devin Hester, that was it. That was it for their scoring.
And Muslim Muhammad
They looked at Rex Grossman behind that offensive line and be like, you know what? We know you ain't worth a damn. We gonna get you here anyway. I agree, Peyton. But I agree in a situation like that, you're Peyton Manning. You still got to stare that down. So I agree with you on that.
You still got to be,
bro. Look, Rex Grossman was so bad. At one point, Kyle Orton had 10 interceptions to start earlier this season, and they still want to keep him in order to prevent Rex Grossman from coming in. Kyle Orton literally almost took Rex Grossman's job.
Not that
Kyle Orton. But Kyle Orton couldn't push the ball down the field like Rex Grossman could. It was the only reason why Rex Grossman kept his job.
Rex Grossman threw for almost 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 20 picks.
So
that's nasty. That's
nasty. That's nasty work.
And they had a decent running game, though. I mean, they had Thomas Jones as a lead back with Cedric Benson was the backup.
Thomas Davis was the one. Cedric Benson was the two.
And you had Bernard Berrien, Wasim Muhammad, Desmond Clark.
Every now and again, Muslim Muhammad will break loose.
Justin Gage was a slot wide receiver.
Ooh, Justin Gage, when he came to Atlanta, he did pretty good. But when he was in Chicago, bro.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got Rex Grossman throwing the football. I mean, I'm not going to do much.
Exactly. Exactly. Matt Ryan's a little bit of an upgrade from Rex Grossman. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But that offensive line they had was hell. They had Reuben Brown, Olin Krentz, and they had that offensive line they had was
Olin Krentz at the time was the best center in the league by far. Like, it wasn't even a question.
Olin Krentz. Oh yeah, definitely.
So honest to God, if that team had like an above average quarterback, that team wins that game.
They would have had an average quarterback.
Yeah.
In the great words of my father, Rex Grossman will worth the fat baby's ass. I'm just gonna be first.
Dude, I'm sorry, but I still maintain. And then that second ring that Peyton won in Denver, that was all defense. That
defense was stacked.
Yeah, and that Peyton Manning was like, I mean, he retired after the Super Bowl, so he knew he was done. He knew he was done.
Dude, my 7-year-old daughter could throw a football better than Peyton Manning at that point.
He knew he was done. His
shoulder was shot.
Oh yeah, man. Outside of Peyton Manning, outside of a lot of things going on in the world, thoughts and prayers with Drew Brees, man. Thoughts and prayers.
Oh yeah, I read that story too.
He can't use his right arm. He can't use his right arm. He threw his arm out. He literally threw his arm out.
He really threw his arm out. Yeah, like he said, they had the article, and he said in the article, like when he's throwing football with his son, he's throwing left-handed.
Yeah, he can't move. He could barely move his right arm. He literally threw his arm out.
Like, I know he had the shoulder injury from when he was in San Diego, but it just finally gave out.
Yeah,
it finally quit
out.
Wow. Yeah, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers with Drew Brees because
most definitely. I hated him when he was at New Orleans, man. I hated him because we knew as a Falcon fan, when you had to go to New Orleans or they had to come, he gonna get 300. It didn't matter what your defense did.
Yeah,
you're gonna get at least 300.
He gonna get 300.
At least.
Yeah.
One thing I used to hate, I used to tell everybody, I said, let us have the ball last.
Exactly.
Let us have the ball last. Because you get it, bro. Every game I've went to in the Dome, we had to play Drew Brees. I went to 4 different games we played Drew Brees. We are 0-4.
Damn, champ.
We are 0-4.
You should have stopped going to Drew Brees games after the second.
We are 0-4.
Damn, champ.
So, hey, but the good thing that came out of that game, we had certain season ticket holders in the stadium. We got me and the girl who I was dating at the time. We got people calling Julio Jones Mac 11.
Okay.
We got people calling him.
I see you trying to patent nicknames. I see you. I feel you. Okay. Okay.
We had a poster called Matt Ryan's Weapons. On one jersey, we had Julio Jones, Mac 11. Remember when Muhammad Sanu there? We had 12 gauge. Then, remember Austin Hooper for a minute, he had number 10. We called him Mac 10. So,
Impressive.
Yeah, we had Mac 10. Impressive. So we call him Mac Ryan's Arsenal, Mac 10, 12 gauge, Mac 11. So it's just like,
Impressive. Very impressive.
In fact, look, one of the funniest stories I have, Muhammad Sanu, he had this real fine lady that he was dating at one point. So he was standing there with her, whatever, and I said, hell of a job, 12 gauge. And the very next post that he had, he put his number on that and put 12 gauge on it. I was like,
Nice. That's what's up.
We used to call, and plus, Muhammad Sanu could throw the ball too, so that's why we call it 12 gauge.
Doesn't he still have a perfect passer rating?
He has a perfect passer rating. He called it 12 gauge.
Wow. It's crazy.
What's so funny about him? He came from Cincinnati. They didn't want to pay him. So he came down here. We went to a Super Bowl with him. Old 12 gauge. Last one. John Cena promo. Was that the CM Punk copycat promo?
Wow. I got to tell you though, even though CM Punk was like laying on the table and he had to sell it, I wonder how he truly felt. Because they had to talk about this. They had to go over this. They had to discuss this before they did it. So I wonder how he felt as far as like John Cena being able to like pull that call back and be able to people were talking about it. People were actually talking about it, like whether it was Punk doing it again or Cena doing his version of it. People were talking about it online, like, okay, man, if you ever had a chance to do a callback to the pipe bomb from 2011, tonight would be perfect. And then he threw Punk through that table and he grabbed that mic and he sat on that top rope. I looked and I said, he finna do it, ain't he? And then as soon as he hit that first line, as you lay there at your most uncomfortable, I'm like, what is he about to say? And just like, oh man, like I tell people and I continue to say, I think John Cena is the greatest ever on the microphone. I stand by it. I think he's the greatest on the microphone. And that promo, like, I think that's easily the best heel promo he's done since the turn. But I think he's turning face a lot sooner than we think he is. I think it kick-started it a little bit because he started to act like old Cena again. Like a lot of the mannerisms, the holding the mic up, holding the mic up to the crowd, letting the crowd, letting the crowd like kind of you hearing what they say, and a lot of the mannerisms was just like it was face Cena again. I don't think it's gonna happen, and I mean not Night of Champions. I didn't think I would say this so soon. SummerSlam is a legit possibility. He might go back babyface. I personally think it's still too soon. It just wouldn't shock me now if he did.
But he's already being cheered.
I know, but he's still calling the fans idiots. He's still playing along to that.
I look, I watched the promo multiple times, and my first initial reaction was like it was good, but I actually felt that he held back. I actually thought like he could have gone way harder on the TKO stuff and how Punk looks like a hypocrite right now than he really did. I mean, it was sitting right, even the camera work with Punk laying there all strewn on the table with the big stupid Slim Jim logo right on the table. Like we're in some like ad fever dream. Like I'm just think he could have gone a little farther with it. It was good. It was really good. I do like how it played on the fact that Punk has basically become what he preached against and hated. I do love that. But man, I wish he would have gone farther. Like there was so much there. Like there is so much there right now with how much TKO is turning the WWE into basically just
the new WCW.
Yeah. Like it's, dude, I didn't look, the way that this was going, the way the WWE was going with under Triple H, how everybody kept complaining about everything. I didn't think I'd become one of those people that complaining, but this like ad stuff is getting really like, and there's not everything. There's just certain things right now that they're doing with the business that I don't like. And this is one of the things that I remember speaking to a former friend of mine about this when Vince first sold it to TKO. I was really worried about them turning into like this corporate
wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling.
Wrestling. Difference between wrestling and wrestling.
Yeah, and we're here now. And it's really gross. And there's certain things that I really don't like. And I feel like Cena could have gone a lot farther with that. And I kind of wish he would have. Because more so than Punk being called out, I think TKO needed to be called out. But I also think that if he would have done that, that would have endeared him to the fans even more. So
he don't need that yet.
So, but at the same time, so it's like I just felt like there was a lot left there that he could have gone after. So I wasn't as like, oh, that's the greatest promo of all time. I don't even think it's either Punk or Cena that has the greatest promos of all time. To me, I think Paul Heyman has two of the top two. I think the one at ECW One Night Stand is phenomenal, and I think the one that he gives to Vince when Vince says, like, just go make me money, and Paul Heyman just rips him a new one on Monday Night Raw. I think those are both far better than what Cena or Punk ever did, in my opinion. But I did like it, though. I did like it. I've actually enjoyed the whole Cena heel run. I like it. I've enjoyed most of it. Everybody says it's underwhelming and they've screwed this up, and I don't think they've screwed it up at all. I think they could have gone farther with some things. Yeah, I think the R-Truth thing has played out all right. I think what he's doing with Punk, he's doing his great. I think it's whatever BRF said. He's doing his greatest hits, and if it goes the route that I hope it does with like the Darth Vader angle, I hope it does. I hope that's it. That's why I still don't think I don't think he goes babyface after this. I can't see the crowd turning on. Ooh, that would be something though if he got the crowd to turn on Punk.
No, I think as good as that promo was, he ain't getting him to turn on Punk. Mm-mm.
That's the problem. So I don't know how you turn Cena babyface in this.
He's not. No. He's not going babyface after this. I'm thinking it's like, I think it's going to be sooner than what even I was expecting, because I was expecting like near the end of his run, and now I'm like, could he do it at SummerSlam? I don't know. We'll see. Because I said like, because like the King of the Ring. See, the King of the Ring is like it's Cody and Randy at in Riyadh. Right now it's still in Saudi. I mean, events. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. But so Cody and Randy. Yeah. So Cody and Randy stuff for the finals. I think Cody's beating Randy. So I'm thinking we're getting Cody and John Cena at SummerSlam. because I think Cody Rhodes is beating Randy Orton. I think I'm Lewis. Boy, I was excited. I was already excited about SummerSlam, but if we get John Cena, Cody Rhodes running it back from WrestleMania, I think it's going to be a better match. And I think there's like a few different routes they can go with this. I know the route. I have a good idea about the route I think they're going to go, but I don't know. If you want me to talk about the route I think they're going to go, I'll talk about it. Do you want me to talk about it?
Save it for one more week.
Okay.
We got to get ready to go off the air. But next week, we will be starting off Undisputed GOAT Podcast with BRF and Flash cooking on wrestling. We will be starting on wrestling first. So stay tuned next week. But in the meantime, we got to get up out of here. It's been real. It's been good. But I ain't never said it was real good. But we appreciate you all for joining us. We appreciate you all for hitting that subscribe button, keeping us afloat, and we will continue to bring the flair. And if BRF, if you could do the honors for us one time and tell us the old saying.
A topic not thought about is a topic not talked about.
Exactly. Flash, got anything you want to add to this?
I'm curious to see where this goes with Night of Champions on whether, I mean, there is a ceasefire that you mentioned, so I'm really curious about what happens this weekend.
Yeah.
Me too. Because I'm wondering if they're gonna, because people are saying like either cancel the event or move it out of Saudi. So I'm definitely kind of curious to see what they're gonna do.
Hey man, look, I'm hoping that everything turns out right, and we can only pray.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you stop it?
But on that note, we're out. We appreciate you, and we thank you. May peace be unto the world. God bless you.